Yeah, I'll do that.
Sure. Yeah, sure. We could try that. All right, we're live now, so I'll spread the link a little bit, see if anybody's gonna show up. But just watch it. Watch it.
For sure.
It's me again. And we prepped. Woo. Oh, wow, oh, wow, oh, wow. It's the time for empowerment. And I've got a message for you. You gotta think about sexual health. No matter what, we're winner with who. Yeah, yeah. To all you lovers out there, ain't no judgment. This is your cue. Yeah, it's time to talk about pre-exposure prophylaxis, a part of HIV prevention.
Pre-exposure prophylaxis.
Reminds me of Martin, like or like like that era of like the '90s sitcom. Uh, don't chase in waterfalls, all that shit. What's it?
That's what
TLC.
it's based on. Yeah, it's based on the TLC song. I think it's called Creep,
Yeah. Yep.
right?
Very befitting.
Yeah, so
Very strange.
it's kind of weird, right? Because the song is about being a whore originally, right? So it's funny,
Well,
right?
didn't R. Kelly kill Lucy Left Eye with Lopez allegedly or something? I don't know. Something weird. Some weird shit.
Right.
um, yeah, that's a really weird commercial. I mean, it's because it's like, who is it targeting? It's targeting like people our age, but that are black and into that culture, I guess, or something. I don't know. Pretty weird. Strangely specific.
Right, like young black people like go get like HIV prophylaxis. And what is that? Does that mean you stick things up your butt to test if you're going to get AIDS or not?
I, I don't know, probably, but
Like that's what it sounds like, honestly.
well,
Prophylaxis, like
well, yeah. There's a whole industry around making everybody gay, keeping everybody on AIDS alive who are gay. So yeah, there's a very strange military industrial complex around AIDS.
yeah, but I'd never heard that before. Pre-exposure prophylaxis. So yeah, so that's a
the,
real song.
the military industrial complex of AIDS. Share your screen if you want, and
Oh yeah,
yeah,
whoops. Yeah, sorry. I forgot
no,
about
you're
that.
yeah, and no, you're good, and I appreciate you doing that because I know how fucking annoying it is. Like,
No, 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 it's
come
cool,
on,
man.
somebody show and like
No,
host
it's no worries.
the stream.
It's no worries, bro. Streaming partners, bro. It's cool,
I
man.
appreciate that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, but it is very annoying that I ask you to do that because like I hate sitting in front of a computer and I can't sit in front of the computer a lot of times, but I want to review the shit. So
Yeah.
appreciate it. Sure.
Yeah, I
But
just went
yeah,
back to the beginning.
yeah. Well, you can go back like just 10 minutes in the stream that we're on that stream because she gets to the nitty gritty right there. Like just go back 10 minutes. Yeah, up from like where she's live at, I guess. So I
Okay,
don't know.
let's
So
go
she's
back like
live.
I'll go back like 30 minutes. How about that?
All right, cool. Yeah, and just set it a little faster so we get to the nitty gritty faster because like
Yeah, like
it'll. I don't
kind
know
of see
exactly. I
what.
didn't see. I didn't see before like 15 minutes ago, but she gets into like deep shit like at 10 minutes. So like
Yeah,
I
she's
mean
talking
around 10,
about
15 minutes ago.
some guy. Yeah, because I'm pretty sure it's gonna be longer than we're suspecting. But yeah,
Right.
let's see. Um, okay, let's go to her here. All right.
Report for like privacy violations or anything like that. No.
And for some reason I can hear echo
That's
whenever I
not how
talk, so
any
I
of
don't
that
know if it's like
works.
something going on with the audio.
So now
Um,
we know who her grandfather is.
I'm just letting you know because
I'm pretty sure
it
it's
might
not
be
on
something
my
going on
end.
with your audio. Oh, weird. Okay.
Yeah, it's not on my end. So I hear no
Very cool.
echo. So
All right, cool.
Per herself. Now we're going to look at his obituary.
Her audio is really low
But this
too.
is going to pull up on the last page, and so I got to go back to the very beginning.
It
it's
might
turned
be
up
on
all the
my
way.
end. Let me
Yeah, it's turned
let
up
me
all the way.
reset my audio. Let me reset mine.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Is it playing?
No, not right now.
Oh, okay, okay. I
Yeah,
was
I'll
like,
play it.
I thought
Yeah,
I
we'll
was
see if.
tripping. I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like,
Yeah, I didn't see you come back in.
So this is from Dignity Memorial, Robert Lee Owens Sr., October 12, 1941 to September 6, 2021. Born in Fayetteville, North Carolina, son of Dallas Lee Owens Sr. and Margaret Wells, he moved to Stamford, Connecticut in the late 50s, predeceased by his wife Nola. They were married on October 25th, 1959 in Stamford, Connecticut, where they lived for 48 years prior to his retiring in North Carolina in 2008. Robert moved to Arizona. Remember, Dad's in Arizona. And the final months of his life to be with his family. Now, I'm not going to sit here and read this whole thing, okay? But just so you guys know, because I did try to find these businesses, Newfield Clean Dry Cleaners, Owens Maintenance Service, and O's Cleaning Service in Stamford, I could not find anything. I'm not saying that he didn't have these businesses, but I couldn't find anything. Hold on. Who is this? Oh, fuck off, DOA. Get out of here. Why are you trying to take over my stream? Kiss my ass. Okay, so right here, as a Christian, this is talking about Grandpa. He was a devout Jehovah's Witness for almost 60 years.
By the way, that DOA guy, I'm pretty sure Truth or Cop knows that guy because he reviewed that guy getting arrested one day. So it's pretty interesting. So I'm not sure what, I think he might be like one of those weird dudes that are into these groups.
well, that's what's weird is like there's so many strange connections between people covering this stuff and like our channels, and so like I don't know what that's about, but it's pretty weird for sure.
Could be a different guy, but still, it seemed like
Mhm.
common enough name to make up. Dead on Arrival, DOA. So,
Could
but
be,
I
but I
think
don't
it
know.
was
Like,
also
well,
like Defender of Ants. So if that's the same guy, his name is Defender of Ants, DOA.
well, well, I've definitely seen what do you call it? People who are closely related to some of the people that we cover in some of these groups. So like, it's definitely not outside the realm of possibility for sure. And she's noticed recently that um, people that are very connected to people that she follows are sudden, or like they have a bunch of mutuals are all like flooding in against her recently. So she's not sure exactly what's going on. So yeah, there's definitely some sort of chain migration or something. I don't know.
Yeah, there was that weird incident where we had sent her a message about some lady that she was covering. It was like a different lady using the same name.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, I've never read the person. I'd be kind of nervous too, honestly. But yeah, there's definitely been some. We try. I think we tried to warn her about the whole lady. The old lady being no. So
Yeah, weird.
Yeah, it's a very strange
As
connection.
one of Jehovah's Witnesses, he volunteered his time in many different capacities as a ministerial servant, elder, and a pioneer. Besides being a husband to Nola, he raised 3 children. 3. He was an actively involved grandfather, always providing love and guidance and inspiration. And it says there that this is written by his children and his grandchildren. Okay, so we have all of that. Let's continue. And right here, so I'm showing these for a reason. Okay, so this is someone calling him Uncle Robert, Aunt Nola, right? Okay, right here. I will miss you, Mr. Owens, and my deepest condolences to Robbie and Veronica. But look at the top one, because I just read the one from Daryl Williams. Robbie, Veronica, and Ronell. Robbie is Robert, is dad. You get it? I'm trying to make this make sense because I have to walk you guys through all of this in order for this to make sense. Okay? So, you guys saw the last page at the beginning. There we go. Now, and yeah, he was a Jehovah's Witness. I don't really know what to tell people. So here is, again, that way you can see I'm not logged into Facebook. None of this stuff is private. Okay? You can Google it. If you can Google it, it's there. It's open, right? Lovely family photo. That's fine. And again, just laying out the argument for who family is, yeah? Desert. Doesn't look like Connecticut to me. Siblings, yeah? Who's leaving that? Veronica, right? Okay. Just want you guys to see this. That way you guys know how I got here. Look, Veronica, again. Okay? Got it? And hold up. Yeah, DOA or whoever this lore of defender of whoever, you can fuck off. I don't know why you're trying to hijack my stream.
Right, that's Defender of Ants. That's the same guy that was on Truth or Cop stream. So it's pretty interesting.
Okay, interesting. So she showed. I can't see the comment, but she showed the comment. Defender event.
Yeah, she said Defender of whatever. In response to his name, so she mentioned the same guy. Yeah, so he's a guy that.
Well, what a very small world that we find. Maybe we should take a look at that without raising
right. Right. I don't know if you know this, but Truther kind of gave me a sort of weird reception on his last stream. Like he was like, like I don't know. He had Flow State on. And it seemed like he was very insistent about having him on. Right, I don't know what's going on, but yeah.
Well, I think people don't want people barking up certain trees. It looked like, so if I had to guess.
Right. Well, it's funny. He started leveraging personal attack towards me when I was like, "Oh yeah, Jim Bob and the Groypers and all these people might be connected," because I leveled that critique at him on the show, and he didn't have very clear answers for it. And
right.
And him and Andrew started saying they're going to strike people's channels if they make the connection. So.
I didn't catch that exact part, but I heard a little bit of that. But
yeah, I reviewed it on my show. I'll send you the video.
Well, the moves that Fuentes are making now, like Fuentes is the most banned person on the internet, but he just got on this guy with like 1 million subscribers, and he gave him this whole like.
Well, you know that
rollout with the Scientologist people, essentially. So.
Yeah, Wilson mentioned Gavin Newsom in his recent debate.
Yeah, exactly, and
it's interesting.
Anybody go look at Gavin Newsom's Twitter, and he's literally like heavily promoting Groyper shit. So go see that for yourself if you don't believe it. But it makes no sense because he's Mr. Anti-Racist. Mr. Pro Woke, and it's funny because even Richard Spencer is now attacking Candace Owens for being too out there with her anti-Jewish conspiracy theories and stuff. But again, I think it's all
The white nationalist
I
attacking
mean, they didn't
Candace
call
Owens.
it that. They said that she sounds mentally ill and she's mentally unwell because she's talking about Egyptian planes and the Jews trying to like whack her for calling Macron's wife a dude. But I mean, that's the whole point. Like, it sounds psychotic, but the truth is, like, it's so much worse than anything that Candace Owens has said. But
Well, I
they
think
try
they're
to make it
Kanyeing
seem
her,
like
right?
it's crazy or something.
She's playing the same bit as Kanye.
Yes, they're basically saying, "Oh, don't be a base black person who's actually aware of what's going on. That means that you're crazy and need to be put on psych med. Play
And
along
remember-
and just be a slave of the Jew with a brain chip, like
Yeah.
Epstein
Yeah,
wanted
and remember-
you to do."
Yeah, and remember, her and Kanye pulled the publicity stunt. White lives matter.
Yep, exactly. Well, and I don't want to. I'm not gonna say too much of what I really think's going on, but if people want to look into it, like, this is definitely like chaos magic. This is like Church of the Subgenius or something like that. I think. I mean, I don't want to say too much, but they're doing a whole Jello Biafra bit. Essentially, it's like be against
Right.
the thing that you're actually for, but you're actually against, but you're actually for.
Oh, yeah.
And, it's like within.
Yeah, this is the
riddle
thing.
A riddle or whatever.
Right, it's the whole internet. It's people that ironically support what they're against because they're too pussy to actually be against it. It's actually it's like the whole internet is turned into like satire. And it's
Yeah,
crazy.
exactly. That's exactly right. And
like
me
every
and
show is the
Julia
Daily
talk about
Show.
this a lot. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, or the Colbert Report. Like, and I felt for
Right.
the Colbert Report. That's why I still talk about it to this day, because like it did seem like it was like you actually support the right wing, so you critique the right wing to make the right wing better. And that's kind of what I've been trying to do. Is like, and then the more I looked into it, I was like, the whole right wing is actually like more leftist than the left wing. And they're like, wait a second, like something's not adding up here. You're kind of like, what the fuck? And yeah, it's pretty crazy because then you start realizing like it's so much darker than it seems. And I later noticed it too, obviously because he looked into postmodern, but it's like it went like he went on a Twitter space last night, and like all these young people are talking to him, and like nothing they say can be earnest. Like everything is a joke within a joke within a joke within a joke within a joke. It's like they don't have an actual personality, right? Like they basically become a meme of a person, and they can't express themselves. And it's like, and he's trying to like break it down by being a meme himself, but then he's like I'm actually worried now. Like nobody can actually express anything of that's honest. Essentially, it's like I don't know, man. It's pretty. I think this whole cybernetics project they're doing is pretty far along, honestly. Like I think that's kind of what we're seeing the evidence of. And I don't know if Rotting Jewel is like a good person or she's in on it or not, but what she's covering is kind of like what we've all been going through, which is like if you keep looking at it, it's like it's like the I don't know what you call it, but when you keep zooming in on something, and the pattern keeps looking more of the same the more you zoom in or whatever. And I think that's kind of what it is. Like you can never find the bottom of the whole rabbit hole. Like the rabbit hole just like goes on forever because you just get deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, and you just never stop. Essentially, I think the abyss.
Yeah, that's like the world views, right? Because if you have a sort of world view, you could look at the various ideologies and how they link up or don't link up with their world view, and that's why like Jay Dyer and Wilson have moved to debating world views, right? Welton Shuang, right? Instead of like actual like facts right on the ground, right? So. Like,
and they overtly reject brute facts, which again, like I can even agree to that to some degree, but then it becomes like, okay, everything's a matrix, and so you're just interacting with my matrix versus your matrix, and so it's like it becomes
right.
Not like nothing's real essentially. So it's like, and then the imagination that you have to construct in order to build your worldview now becomes greater than the reality that you're actually evaluating. So it's like, okay, like,
Yeah, that's the thing is like if you select a worldview, you could have infinite, realizations within that worldview. Like it's just a lens that you could use to look at pretty much anything. So the fact is that there's infinity within worldviews. All right, so it's like worldviews don't have set values, right? So it's like worldviews, like they don't have
right. Well, and I hate
demarcation.
that term because that's one of those like nonsense terms too, and even
Right,
I've
it
felt
is.
where
Right, it's
it's like
postmodernist, right?
well, it's almost like free will again. Like it doesn't mean that like what most people think of as free will doesn't exist, but the term itself is like a Orwellian term that basically can mean so many different things that have no actual tie to anything that we can really sense or uh, you know really even like describe really, right? But it's just this term that people throw around to like make you shut up and say, well, I accept free will, and then it's like, okay, good. Now I'll just reinterpret free will to mean this, and I'll reinterpret free will to mean that, and you'll just be stuck like having some general notion that doesn't actually mean anything essentially. So I mean, I think that's the real game that we're playing essentially at this point, where everybody's just trying to like fuck with everybody's heads with stuff like that. I mean, not everybody, but these higher level postmodernist debaters, supposedly.
But you can go the fuck away. And mods, please feel free to block anything that's related to DOA. Get fucked. Please. People have no respect for me sitting here and spending fucking 26 hours putting this shit together, trying to find all of this shit. Well, yeah, I mean, he's obviously making stock accounts. Go fuck yourself. Anyways, so we've got all of that, right? We've laid that groundwork. Now, let's look at grandma, okay? Ooh, that looks crazy. Hold on, let me go to the first page because that's not what I was trying to pull up. So, grandma's name was Nola, right? And it does say, remember, we read this in one of her profiles. Or actually, it was on Wikipedia. So, Virgin Islands, born September 24th, 1942. Death, February 2013, Fayetteville, North Carolina. This all tracks, right? Burial, Stamford, Connecticut. Okay. All right. There's Robert Lee Owens Sr. Now, when you look through the census records on Ancestry and you pull up Miss Nola, again, all this information tracks. We're right here, spouse, Robert Lee Owens. So I highlighted that, obviously, right? And why did I highlight the child? Because they're the same names, right? Same names. So there's not a technical delineation between junior and senior, but look at right here, Evelyn Davis Owens. Remember her sister's name, Brittany Davis, right? And then we just saw Facebook with Veronica, right? So Veronica Owens Cobb. So Ernest Cobb is the spouse. And then remember the comments in the obituaries. Veronica, Robbie, Ronell. So then there's Ronell. You get it now? Okay. Let's go to the next one.
So what she's done is she's taken painstaking care to analyze whether this is actually Candace Owens' family or not. So this is what she's doing right at the moment. She's putting together all this
Yeah, I think she
information.
said it. I think she said it took her like 26 hours to verify all that shit, essentially, or something like that. So
Right. Right. So I mean, it is pretty impressive. Right. So I'm assuming that this is not public information, that she's bringing this out for the first time. So that's pretty wild that this lady's like fully like, I guess, like showing where people came from. I could imagine like maybe Candace Owens and her people taking great offense to this. I don't know. This is an
Well,
interesting
well,
move.
well, well, the guy that introduced Candace Owens to her husband, which is like the Scientologist Q guy who's been pushing like extreme Scientology Christian Q stuff in England and bought like King Arthur's castle and turned it into like a headquarters and shit, is like
Hmm.
stalking this girl's Twitter, like calling her crazy and
Damn.
shit like that. So yeah. So she's definitely like ruffling some feathers, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Unless like she's involved in some type of press release. Right,
Oh yeah, yeah, I don't discount that. And again, that's why like I don't want to directly like jump in the middle of all this because I don't know the truth of it all, but like
right.
I don't think anything's outside of the realm of possibility, but this is a lot more interesting than the general takes that everybody's giving like is Candace Owens real? Is she fake? Is she with the Jews? Is she for the Jews? I think this is a lot more like interesting of a
It is.
angle
Yeah,
to
it
look at
is.
it, you know?
Yeah, it's an interesting angle for sure. Uh,
Because like really, if you start looking at it, like why are the Jews and the Mormons and the Scientologists all seeming to like work in collaboration, allegedly? Like that's a good question to ask, I would say, and the Christians as well, and maybe some Muslims and maybe some like occult people, and so like there's a little bit of a mix of everybody kind of working in tandem. It seems to
yeah.
like deceive people or whatever.
Yeah, and a well-known fact about Candace Owens is that she actually was a Democratic activist for the Democrat Party before becoming a American conservative and pushing the Republican side of the coin. Right. So this is lets me know off the bat that she might be involved in some sort of intelligence gathering operation, because anybody who does a 180 in terms of their ideology or comes back up. We mentioned several people like this that they change their religion, they change their ideology, they pop back up as public figures, right? And it's obvious that they've been assigned a different role now, right? So,
Yeah, and that could go for almost everybody that we've interacted with any notoriety on the internet. So,
right, right. It's like they change their alliances and who they work with and who their friends are and their entire process of how they're releasing information, and they do this just on the fly. It's apparently just on the fly. They go away for a month or 2 months, and all of a sudden they reemerge with a new friend group, new alliance. It's very odd. And so you think like, well, these people that were working against each other, were they working with each other for a larger group the entire time? Right. So that's happened with almost every group we've interacted with. Yes.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's like it's unbelievable unless you witnessed it. But then the thing is like all the people that you would think are witnesses to back what we've witnessed uh, seem to go with the flow of all the changes. So you're like, okay,
Yeah.
like
Yeah. And Drew even mentioned you his last show. Like he's actually obsessed with you. Like we haven't interacted with him for so long, but he's still
yeah,
like
I haven't talked to Chalk Body in like 2 years, I think.
two
So
years. Yeah, and
what did he say about me?
you're still on his mind. Just like random personal comments. I'm gonna get him back for it. So it is what it is.
Oh, like he said that I'm crazy or something.
To the effect, like that you sound like somebody that they were comparing on the screen. I forget exactly who, but they said you sound like somebody that they were negatively critiquing or something like that.
That's just
Sorry.
really funny though. It's like
Yeah.
literally I don't like you're the only witness I have, but like I don't think I ever really talked about anything that deep.
Right. It's
Really,
interesting.
you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
It's really odd. Like and like yeah. So like they're actually obsessed with us. We don't even interact with these guys.
And we
So
don't cover anything that they seem to be that interested in. I mean, their show is
right.
like literally goy slop, so it's like not even that interesting content.
Right. So I'm wondering, like, what's the fascination with different groups, and like,
It's just
honestly,
funny is like literally I've gone out of my way not to interact and not to fight with these people. You know what I mean? Since our falling out. So it's like, I called them out, but then it's like I don't want to like interact with them because nothing they say has any value to me. It's like everything they do is like they just bastardize everything I talk about. So I don't want to like I don't want to make what I talk about associated with them because they like I was watching some of their recent shows and like
Yeah.
it's so trashy. It's like it's not even like trashy in the sense like Jerry Springer trashy. It's like I have an addiction and I need help, you know. And like I'm not saying that to like the mean people, but it's like come
Yeah,
on.
and another thing I'm constantly seeing is that it seemed like now that the Jays have like defeated quote unquote Palestine, they're moving to like critique Islam. And I think they're doing that with increasing like like pace, like where they're like releasing tons of information about Islam. So obviously
Yeah,
they've commandeered.
Myth Vision
Yeah,
has done like huge exposés on Islam. I think
yeah,
Gnostic Informant has done
yeah.
it.
The Dearborn thing,
Tobiah. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
it's
it.
kind of like
Yeah, we should watch that Dearborn thing. That was crazy. Like I can understand where like a white guy would have that thing. He's like, okay, white people were 30% of the world 120 years ago. Now we're 7%. Like something's not
yeah,
right.
I
But
don't
it's like,
I
a weird like
yeah.
I don't know. It's
Yeah, like
just
the
weird.
racial discussion is definitely interesting because I think like cultures and races should definitely be preserved, and I think it's against the technocratic order, right, that they do be preserved, right? So I have a specific view on cultures and against immigration and for cultural homogeneity. I mean for traditional values and ethnic, homogeneity and all that type of
But
stuff. But
but yeah.
ultimately, I see like Christianity right on the side of the coin, right? Because it seemed like Christians are conflating themselves with Jews and atheists when they're like, oh, we believe in Western values, right? Because a Jew or an atheist could literally turn around and say the same exact thing, but a Muslim cannot say it, right? But a Muslim can say, I believe in traditional values, and so can a Christian. But a Jew or an atheist can't really say that, right? So it's really funny how that works.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just bringing up a quote. I wrote this quote earlier on my Substack, which I don't want to really. I mean, I don't really want to promote it to the YouTube, so I shouldn't even talk about it. But because it's not, it's really just more of like a place to like go and you know play with the narratives that's going on. But I wrote this thing and I want to read it really quick. Shit, where did I put it? Where's this thing at? Activity. Okay, here we go. So far, what I gather on Substack is it's a better algorithm with the same goy slop intellectual masturbation that is delaying people facing the reality that the things they are quote unquote fighting for are long gone and no one wants any future, really, because gooning over the apocalypse is more fun. America and the West is a eulogy, not an ontological reality. So I'm really just trying to say that, like, everybody's over here trying to fight for the West and try to fight for this, but like you said, like they conflate it with so many different things that effectively it becomes meaningless, and I don't say that because like I disagree with the sentiment. I say that because I agree with the sentiment, but the sentiment is
Yeah,
beyond the psyop.
yeah. Like here's the thing: is like Christians and Muslims more or less had equal territories in a land where we had a low, a technological scope, right? But we had a high cultural, sense of refinement, right? So we built huge buildings, we wrote huge books and stuff, right? We are the civilizations that created the industrial complex, right? But the fact is that out of this whole milieu, right? There's also like the Jays and the atheists, obviously, right? So I mean, the thing they really have to understand is that once this order is imposed on the world, right? This is what seems to get find itself lapsed, right? Is the traditional sense in which we could organize a civilization based on either Christian or Muslim values, right? So I think that is an interesting way, and even Confucian, right? I think the Asians should understand Confucianism and go back to
Well,
Confucianism, right?
and
That
Taoism
yeah,
and Taoism and stuff like that.
yeah,
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 yeah.
that governed their society for centuries, successfully governed
Well,
their society for centuries,
so,
right?
so yeah,
Yeah,
no, I totally agree with you, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's like me and Pilliter talk about this a lot too. Like what we're noticing that they're doing is like so the way that they've hijacked Christians and probably Muslims and Jews and even occultists and pagans, right? They figure out like what makes you tick, like what's your moral standard, right? And that's what they've done to the Asians now. So they've tied into they've tapped into their Confucian duty, and then they've said that like, well, it's your Confucian duty to like
right,
seek status and wealth and like
right.
upward mobility in society and all these things. And it's like it seems to make sense, and then but then like
Right, and we talked about
you
this,
know
right, right, and this has been noticed by specialists that Buddhists and Muslims are more subservient because they believe in authoritarianism, right? Whereas Westerners are more individualist, right? So it's a
right.
problem with the corrosive mentality, that they've
It,
been ingrained with.
and it's just such a tragedy nobody's watching this because I think this is some of the best stuff we've ever talked about. But it's like, but it's like,
Yeah, don't worry, I'll replay it at some point. I mean, like, soon.
yeah. No,
Yeah, I'll
it's
play
just
it on
funny. It's
Wednesday.
like
Yeah, I'll play it on Wednesday.
this is like some of the like cutting to the heart of the matter. You know what I mean? Like it's like this,
Right.
it's like
Well, that's whenever we talk. To
yeah.
be honest, I mean, I have a good time talking with you, my friend.
Yeah, you too. Yeah, no, I agree. Every time we talk, it's like deeper and deeper. It's just nobody seems to like. And again, I'm not like disparaging anyone, like, but it's like we've been on the same like angle of like approach. I think in some ways, like, because you can really see what's happening is like you were just saying about the whole like Confucianism and Buddhism. Like see, this thing is like they believe in totalitarianism, and again, like I think that like Christians originally did too to some extent, like what I mean by that is like it doesn't mean that we're like want to control people, but we have like hard like limits. Like okay, we don't judge your soul, but like if you fuck around, like you're gonna get like thrown off a roof or what. Like I'm being hyperbolic, but you get the idea. Like there used to be like a hard limit, like this far and no farther, right? And now it's like oh, just accept everybody because that's the Christian mentality. It's like no, not really. I mean that's just like a historical like revisionist take on Christianity that's now become popularized or something where and it's almost inseparable. And I think this is where like people like Pinoid are like right in a sense where they're like, well, Christianity is this and that. It's like, well, yeah, if you're looking at it from like post Nietzsche on, yeah, of course, but like if you have like a historical view on Christianity, then it doesn't really apply. But you know what I mean. But people just uh I think we're just living in such a postmodern world for like 200 years that people can't really, you know, process, I guess, what's really how deep of a hole we're in. And it's funny because you're talking about with the Asians and stuff, like they they're subservient in a way, but they're also like very self-serving via like it's weird. It's like they view subservience as self-serving. So it's very weird. It's like a very particular kind. And I think it's the opposite for the whitey because whitey sees it as like, well, it's selfless to be rebellious or something like that. I don't know how to describe it, but it's something like that. Like, but it's kind. I don't know. It's a really
Right.
complicated situation because like we're looking at it through like
And that's
the post
and that's the
liberty
stage that
phase.
yeah, and this is the stage we're at. That we were critiquing before, the rebellion of the rebellion, right? Which is like, which is either Discordianism or accelerationism, right? Like anti-truther truthers, right, or whatever. It's like that's sort of a bit. It's like weird.
Yeah, I got a lot more say on that, but like Discordianism and Church of Subgenius, I think that like I'm convinced that that's way more important than I really gave it consideration before.
Right. I say like if things are progressing and that progression is accelerating, then you could either slow down that progression or speed it up. right? So
Yeah,
literally,
well, there doesn't seem to be a way to derail the train, so I think people are delusional. That because I think a lot of people are thinking like, well, we can just derail the train. It's like I don't
right.
think that's really possible.
That's the trick of Discordianism and accelerationism. They want to sell you faith in the future and reforming the system when that's not a true rebellion, right? It's just a quasi rebellion, right? So this is what I've estimated, honestly.
Yeah, well, that I want to get into more with you because I think that like um, that's the hardest thing to really because like everybody's a progressive in a sense that I know. I mean, I don't think anybody is not a progressive because they see everything as like you know a big mason wall being built, brick by brick by brick, right? So and that can never stop. So I don't think anybody sees it as really a return is possible, right? So or that we can just stop building,
Yeah, it's like I think there's like a good like Pink Floyd song that goes along with this moment.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's some occult,
Subtext, right?
yeah, Gord, yeah,
Dark Side of the Moon and whatnot.
with a prism going through it, and
and the
maybe
rainbow.
David Icke might talk about the Saturn main matrix.
Right.
And this matches Grandpa's obituary. They got to the date. They were married October 25th, 1959 in Stamford. They left out the T, but Robert L. Owens and Nola Van Holten. Okay. And
Hilton. Uh-oh.
right here, this is just showing. I'm not really going to get into this side of the family, the Blydens, just because this is on the mom's side, okay? But I do think that this individual's history is interesting because they were at Pfizer as a chemical operator for 4 years and also served in the Navy for 22. This is Nola's brother. Okay, so Nola's brother. It says it down here. And then another sister, Ida Epps, lives in Stamford. This is from the Day newspaper, July 28th, 1991. So, does that make sense so far? We have all of that laid out. We see Davis, Owens, Cobb, Veronica, Ronell, Robbie, aka Robert, aka Dad. I hope that all of that makes sense. And I don't know why people are coming into my chat today. How many times have I been live since then? Bunch of fucking losers. How many sock accounts are you going to make? Seriously. It's unfortunate that I don't have the chat on the screen. Get a fucking life. Tell your grannies to get a life too. You know, it's interesting that these people are showing up in my chat today because I found out today that there are people out here calling me a fucking pedophile. Because they don't know.
That's interesting. It's a highly specific, might be a highly specific group of people making those types of accusations that we may or may not have ran across these groups of people.
It seems to be a phenomenon that's common. Right. And Pill Eater started talking about how like it's like they call you a Satanist, and then they call you a Nazi, and then they call you a pedophile. So there's like a Satanist to Nazi to pedophile pipeline that seems to be happening. You know?
Right. Which I take it is almost pure projection, right? Because almost all of the, or at least a lot of the accelerationist groups that we found, they actually use satanic and Nazi ideology. They overtly use that type of ideology, right? So for them to be calling other people, I have not found overt PDF stuff, but they are linked to groups who do that type of stuff, although they claim to be decentralized. So there is that aspect of things that has been uncovered, right? So it might be pure projection.
Yeah, yeah.
How
Well,
to look any
and I won't name any names, but some other people that we know who are very aware of this kind of stuff and also seem to be accelerationists have mentioned that they've also noticed that a lot of these people are pretty directly involved in some of that shit, or seemingly so. So yeah, it's pretty
Right.
seems to be extremely common, to say the least. Yeah.
thing up, and there's a mother somewhere that has a daughter that has the same name as me who allegedly abused. I don't know if it was a sibling or a cousin or anything, a young boy, a 13-year-old boy, I guess. But because they have the same name as me, even though my mother's fucking dead, and they said that that's why I lost my nursing license. My nursing license is active. It's interesting that you show up here today doing this when I found that out this morning.
Yeah, I'd like to be nursed by her, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, she's a good-looking lady.
You know what would be great? I don't know if you can do it, Jack Whiteside Parsons, if you could put the chat on subscribers only. Put it for the maximum amount of time. That way, these clowns can fuck off, because I'm over it. Now, we've already laid all of this groundwork, right? We've got it. Arizona. We know that Dad, I think the earliest article was 2017, maybe 2018, but we know that Dad is there. Okay? Okay. Now, right here. And I've blocked out the important information. Veronica Owens Cobb, Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Arizona Properties. And again, this is stuff that you can look up, but I did obviously redact the important things, okay? And just to show you guys that this is Berkshire Hathaway, so Americana, Arizona LLC, doing business as Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Arizona Properties. Now, when you use these websites, these are free, they're on Google, and I'm not providing any personal information, okay? They can be hit or miss. Got to do a lot of cross-referencing, right? And we see this name game here. Robert L. Owens, Robert E. Owens. We see junior, senior being used interchangeably, right? We see the email as well being used interchangeably, right? Okay. Now, on this account, it does show grandma and grandpa are deceased. It shows the aunt in Arizona. It does list her sister, Brittany Davis, as the wife. Obviously, that's very wildly inaccurate. But I have found her older sister, her younger sister, and again, you can't make this shit up. But I would like you to pay attention to the first email that is listed. Robert Owens of Valley Income, because that's going to be the one that's important. But just to show you guys that I've done my due diligence, that is her aunt, Veronica, in the J.M. Wright Technical School 1980 yearbook. I freaking love her outfit. I'm like, slay, girl. I just love old fashioned. But just to show you guys how deeply I have dug, okay? I have gone in as hard as humanly possible to find these individuals. Because Robert Owens is a very common name.
Yeah, that's that's actually how Candace Owens looks and dresses. So it's pretty interesting, the outfit there.
Yeah, unless it's all AI and we can't trust anything. But yeah, it does look exactly like her, pretty much.
Yeah, that's crazy. Spitting image of this woman.
Deeply, I have dug. Okay? I have gone in as hard as humanly possible to find these individuals. Because Robert Owens is a very common name. Robert Lee Owens is a very common name. And I do not want to make any. Oh, I accidentally clicked this again, I think, and I didn't mean to. I don't want to make any. It's not even accusations, it's just presumptions. She does look like Candace. I think she's very beautiful. I think Candace is beautiful. Fucking smoke show, it's just whatever. So now, as Operation GCD would say, we are going to play the game. Who is your daddy? And what does he do?
Oh, snap.
So this is from bold.pro. I do not know what this is. I'm certainly not creating a profile to find out. Robert L. Owens Jr., Phoenix. Talented professional, considered knowledgeable leader and dedicated problem solver. Brings 20 years of valuable expertise to forward company objectives. Attentive to detail, with experience in coordinating projects, programs, and improvements. So here we go. Nice little website, right? Pretty jazzy. So work history. Closing specialist for Quicken Loans and Rocket Mortgage, June 2020 to May 2023. Title coordinator, Quicken Loans, Rocket Mortgage, September 2019 to June 2020. Oh, look, remember the email? Valley Income Properties. What did that one article say? That her dad was a property manager, right? Remember I told you it was the only fucking article on the internet that I could find? So it's right there. August 2017 to May 2019. Talking about Grand Canyon University, that's in Arizona. It's all coming together now, right? Do you see how many pieces of the fucking puzzle that you have to put together? But we're here. We're here. Let's continue. Property manager, residential, Nelson Brothers Property Management, January 2017 to July 2017. Assistant property and leasing manager, Graystar Properties, July 2014 to January of 2017. You may be wondering why I have this one highlighted down here. Regional property manager, commercial, Bright Horizons Family Solutions, August of 2011 to July of 2013. What was he doing for them? Commercial real estate daycare centers, 4,000 square feet each, managed 45 daycare centers in Connecticut and New York. In charge of contracts, janitorial, snow removal, landscaping, fire alarm systems, and security during tragic loss of life at Sandy Hook. I'm going to read that again. In charge of contracts, janitorial, snow removal, landscaping, fire alarm systems, and security during tragic loss of life at Sandy Hook.
That's a lot of responsibilities for just one dude.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, like he had a lot of jobs. Like,
Seems to be a very
sort of like a MacGyver like type of Mr. Fix It.
well. It's almost like this job that doesn't actually mean anything. It's just like a title that's given and saying, okay, you're the head of 8 departments. Okay, great. we'll take care of the rest. You're just the head, okay? So you just be in charge of this. You take the fall for this, okay?
Yeah, let's hear that again because that is quite a bit of responsibilities for one man. And as they say, the guy's got more jobs than a Jamaican. It's crazy.
Well, and the connections get a lot weirder in about 2 minutes, so you'll see.
In charge of contracts, janitorial, snow removal, landscaping, fire alarm systems, and security during tragic loss of life at Sandy Hook.
It's like a super police officer. Like you have to be like a I don't know, like what does he work at the UN? Like this is wild, dude. Like he set the whole thing up. Like if there was
and it seems like a weird flex. It's like, oh, I was in charge when that whole thing went down. It's like, okay.
yeah,
like,
it's kind of creepy. Like,
yeah, and actually, if you look at the history of that school, which we can't talk about, but we're already there. But like, if you look at the whole history of that, it's like it's a very strange like history. I would say, like, it doesn't really make any sense from a point of like in Connecticut's a whole weird.
Yeah,
Connecticut itself is a whole weird like old money like hiding.
The fact that like Obama went and visited the school, it's kind of strange. But yeah, I mean,
wait before.
Before it happened. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, I know that like Connecticut and Delaware and all this is like it's like really weird old money like stuff, and very much like the trans shooter thing that happened with Owen. What's the dude's name? Owen Schroyer when he left, and he's like, "Oh, we broke it. We broke the big news. We did the data dump of all the social media." And then the next day I get fired or whatever, or like quit or something. It's like kind of weird, right? Like it's like, and they also broke the Sandy Hook shooter. It's like, okay, so very particular job they have there, which is like data dump a bunch of anomalies and bang bang events or something. I don't know.
Right. It's like I was saying. This seemed to be a controlled press release. Like I don't know who's all in on it, but
right. Well, and now they're pushing that like a very particular. I don't know the details because I don't really follow all this, but I'm sure Unseen and other people know. Like it's like now they're pushing like this very particular organization within the Orthodox Church is now like the biggest threat to the New World Order, and Dugan approves, and I don't know, dude.
I watched it with them yesterday. I watched part of it with them yesterday.
How bad is it? I didn't see much. I just kind of like I skimmed like
really
a minute
bad.
or two.
It's really bad. Yeah, like he's emphatically like saying he's saying that that the world order is trying to tear apart the Russian church because the Russian church is the heir of like spirituality in the West. So like obviously the new world order is against Putin. It doesn't even make any fucking sense. Like it's literally like comical. Weird like routine like
I mean, look, here's the thing is like I would love to believe that, but that's an extraordinary claim that requires extraordinary evidence, and I have definitely not seen any evidence for that claim. It's like it seems a very bold claim.
Oh yeah, very bold claim. And it's like and then he's pointing to how they're like growing in America, and then he points out that Josiah Trenum, Father Josiah Trenum, I believe is his name, right? Like talked about Nick Fuentes or something like that. So he like applauded Nick Fuentes for going against Korn. And I'm like, wait, Nick Fuentes? The guy who hangs out with Sneeko and Kanye West and talks about T-porn and all this stuff? And like, what the hell? I'm like, that guy's trying to stop degeneracy? And this is what he was saying next. So we watched like 5 minutes of this, and it's comically like retarded.
Make sure you save this. I'm gonna put this video in the back. We don't have to watch it now, but it may be worth reviewing. This guy Jack Nail used to do like true crime, and then he disappeared, and then he started doing like big giant interviews with like tech gurus like that are closely associated with like Thiel and Sam Altman and all these other like Scientology adjacent business guru people, right? So he just like disappeared off the internet for like 2 months and then came back clear, I guess, and then he just got these giant interviews, and then he did this interview with Nick Fuentes. So I'm just sharing that with you because I'm pretty sure this is like a major. This is like at the level of like Paul Patrick David or whatever his name, Patrick Bet David, doing an interview with Nick Fuentes, because this is actually to like a younger like hustle culture crowd people. And I didn't watch it at all yet, but like I can tell you like whatever they say on this interview is like a very important press release. But and I haven't seen anybody else cover it yet. I'm sure they will, but it's going to be a very interesting direction shift, I
Yeah.
would say, with Fuentes. You know.
Yeah, and I think that's a good direction to take this conversation. These are press releases by the feds. They're allowing this to. Otherwise, they could suppress it if they wanted to. They decide what goes on the airwaves and what's being promoted. It's very clear. So if you don't think that, right? I mean, these are designed press releases by the feds. If somebody like Nick Fuentes or Andrew Wilson just goes up and says his opinion, and 10 other people have the same opinion, use your fucking brain. It's
Right,
obviously
right.
yeah,
And
like
here's
they got the same memo.
and here's the thing: is like what exactly are they promoting solution wise? The solution is like let's complain about it on the internet and then like get like be the eternal victim. Yet that's exactly what we say about the Jews. So it's like okay, so like you're just trying to be the Jew now. So it's like what's the actual fruit of that? Oh well, we're losing on every front, and nothing's changing. It's only getting worse, and we don't tell anybody to go like have kids. We don't tell anybody to like go grab power. We just sit here and complain and tell everybody to be like depressed and suicidal. And I mean, I shouldn't say that, but you know what I mean, like self-deleting or whatever. So it's like I mean. Yeah, I mean that's literally the fruit of everything they talk about, essentially. So it's it's like a demoralization campaign, essentially, from the right against the right. So I mean that's just my opinion, but it's like you said, it's all press releases, essentially.
Loss of life at Sandy Hook. Reopened all centers within janitorial snow removal. I'm going to read that again. In charge of contracts, janitorial snow removal, landscaping, fire alarm systems, and security during tragic loss of life at Sandy Hook. Reopened all centers within 2 weeks of Hurricane Sandy.
That's Candy. That's Queen Candy, Candace Owens' dad. So she's talking about
Sandy in New York and Connecticut. Reopened all centers within 2 weeks of Hurricane Sandy in New York and Connecticut.
So that's weird for two reasons. One is rather benign. Both places have the name Sandy in them. But the other reason is because it's another major event that this guy's tied to. Right? So this guy has some sort of like disaster task force. like like that they deploy like
Yeah,
like
maybe
cover
maybe
shit
he
up.
knows Talcott or something.
It seemed like he might be part of some kind of private security firm at the very least, if not just overtly just a Fed. Right? So these are the possibilities on the table at this point, since his sort of appearance at these two events. I mean, I'm willing to say it's just not coincidental, right? Because those are two huge events.
Property manager, commercial and residential for the Mutual Housing Association, September 2000 to July 2011. And then energy conservation consulting project manager. After that, and there is the rest of his timeline. But I think I'm going to read this again because it took me 26 hours to get here. Okay. In charge of contracts, janitorial, snow removal, and landscaping, fire alarm systems, and security during tragic loss of life at Sandy Hook. How do you like them apples? I'm going to sit here and take a breather for a second because it took us an hour and 15 minutes to get there. And I'm not even close to being done. I would like to ask everybody a question. Do you think that Alex Jones knows that her father was in control of the contracts for Sandy Hook during tragic loss of life? I'm quoting her own dad. Do you think it's odd that Candace and her father both have the exact same attorney as Alex Jones for Alex Jones' Sandy Hook lawsuit? Do you understand what kind of insider you have to have the contracts, the supervisor of the contracts for that? Do you think that that is information that the public might want to know? Because literally, he just set himself in control of essentially the cleanup crew.
Yeah, this is insane. I also heard that like all the kids were buried on the same day. So if that's true as well, then this is a really strange event that he was in charge of them. And then them having the same lawyer. Woo! Holy smokes, dude. Like, did they set this dude up with the Voice of America studio, in exchange for him spreading
Right.
disinfo about this? Like, it's
Right.
crazy.
Right. Well, and then the chilling effect of $1 billion lawsuit to point out extremely obvious, whatever. And I saw somebody recently covering the Robbie Bobby moment, the guy crying. Well, I don't know if it was Chalk Body or one of those guys, but I saw somebody covering that recently. I thought that was very odd that somebody was like randomly covering that suddenly. So I don't know who that was, but I think that's
What's
pretty
that
weird.
again?
Like the event from Sandy Hook where the guy's like he's like laughing and then he goes up to the microphone and gets into character and starts like saying like his
Oh, yeah,
daughter
yeah.
died or whatever,
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I saw somebody cover that on their show recently, but I think it was EBT or TBE or one of those dudes. I don't know, or Chalkbody or somebody. I don't know. Somebody covered it, and I thought it was very odd that somebody just randomly brought that up for no reason. I mean, I think I'll give you a little hint. I
This
think
is a
if we want to really start getting into this stuff, what you do is we start going into the meme, uh, like Bitcoin, the meme coin trading stuff. And if you start looking at that, like there's insiders within, I think there's insiders within psyops, and then what they do is they bet on different memes or like internet things. So they create like memes about psyops and then trade the coins for profit, like gambling. And I think if you track that stuff, I'm sure there'd be something interesting. Maybe we should ask one of our friends who knows about that to like set up some sort of like tracker or something for that, because I guarantee you there's something really weird going on with that stuff.
Yeah, one of the dudes, David Weiss, he had a flat Earth app. You know, where you would download an app on your cell phone.
Yeah,
Right?
David Weiss is a very strange dude. Like, I've
Yep.
looked a little bit into him. He's a very odd person.
Yeah. So I
Yeah,
could
very
definitely
well
picture this
connected
as like
guy.
some sort of data farming operation.
Well, yeah, well, that's what they do with all this psyop stuff is they like release it and then they data farm on the psyop release and then they bet on the psyop release and then the people get
Right.
paid for like betting correctly.
Right.
So it's almost like
Right. Because the
laundering money,
information.
essentially.
Right. Right. Because the information he gets about who's buying his app and the personal information about those people and their payment information and all that stuff is more valuable than the app itself. So.
Well, that's what all the startups are all about. Like, it's all about like it's never about the money. It's always about the data. I mean, like we don't live in a capitalist society in the way that people think. It's like it's like you get the information and then you program the people with the information you've received on how to react with the technology that they're releasing or
Right.
whatever they're trying
Exactly.
to
No.
something like
No. Yeah.
that. So
No. You said it
and
perfectly.
again, I've been talking about that for 2 years, and then all of a sudden nobody wants to talk to me anymore in the legit circles that we used to run in. So it's like,
Right.
okay,
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Same. Yeah. It's like we're like we've painted ourselves into a corner. So it's like, it is what it is.
According to her own father's resume. This isn't me pulling it out of thin air. So if you want to report my shit, go nuts. But this information's out here. Do you also now understand why there has been the name game and why she does not want to talk about her parents? You want to talk about insiders? You want to talk about the upper echelon?
Yeah, let's find out where Nick Fuentes came from next. And then you gotta do people of service and figure out where that guy, what type of tree did that guy fall from. It's pretty interesting.
To control what went on that day. And no, I'm not a hoaxer at all. But to be in control of what went on that day, this is far beyond military, DOD family, anything.
But yeah,
like
honestly, like I'm pretty sure I saw an interview with Jay Dyer and Andrew Wilson talking, and they were talking about how both of their dads were in the military and shit. So like, yo, it's kind of like, like David McGowan type of shit, where it's like, all these people that are influencers online, their like parents were in the military, including Mencius Moldbug, who claimed his parents were in the deep state, quote unquote. So
that.
yeah, well, yeah, it is very Dave McGowan adjacent, I would say. And also, I got a quote for you about Curtis Yarvin that I want Pinoy to see eventually, but I'll save it for later. But
yeah, I'm interested.
This is very deep. This is fucked up. And now, do you see why I said that I almost think it's kind of odd that her family was in Arizona, where Erica Kirk's family and Erica are from? I don't know what connections there are there. It took me that long, a total of 36 hours, to organize all of that. It took me 26 just to find her dad. Why did I count? Because I felt like I was losing my fucking mind. So I'm like, Robert Owens Jr., Robert Owens Sr., Robert Lee Owens, Robert L. Owens. Like I'm sitting there going cross-eyed. So I haven't even dug into that. There is now the possibility, it's just a possibility, of a relationship, between the Owens family and the France V, however you say it, Erica Kirk's family.
What's the relation between the Owens and the Wilsons? Because there's a lot of Owens and Wilsons popping up. Like too many to count.
Family.
Yeah, there is a lot of weird like general names that seem to show up in all
Right.
these little fly.
Yeah, it's like, is that like when you get like into like some group? Like, do you take like some sort of surname? It's weird, man.
Since Daddy seems to be a bit of an insider. And so we arrive at the next question. Because we've all seen it with our own eyes, right? There's something real fucky with what happened to Charlie. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, and I'm not definitively saying one way or the other, and this is just my opinion. I'm just not fully convinced that he's dead. I'm just not fully convinced. Go watch Program to Kill's 2 videos on Charlie Kirk. I'm just not fully convinced. I don't know. But that we saw with our own eyes, right? We saw that with our own eyes. And for all the Candace fans that have left nasty comments and gotten my videos reported and all of that stuff, she doesn't pivot. Fuck you. She's blamed everybody but Scientology. And you guys know if that happens, I'm going to completely lose my mind. But she's throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks, right? Then we have Alex Jones over here with the incident in Newtown, where he goes full hoaxer, everything is fake, out of whole cloth. Right? And that has set the legal precedent to silence dissent. Because again, I'm not a hoaxer. I do believe that people died that day. I just think that we don't know who died. In my personal opinion, I believe that there was a drill and something went very, very wrong. Very wrong. What that is, I'm not even going to pretend to know. But there are other people that I have met out here in these research streets on the internet who beat me, for years and years, that lost their channels for talking about this stuff. Now, I don't know if they were full hoaxers or not. I have no idea. But we have one side where you're allowed to just ask and make the most silly claims and just bounce around all over the place, right? That's Owens right now. And then we have Jones, where we didn't see what happened. He goes full hoaxer, and there's a fake lawsuit, right? Because that lawsuit was fake. And the Owens family and him are represented by the same lawyer, the CIA reject, right? And I'm supposed to believe that Alex Jones doesn't know that her dad was in charge of the contracts for cleaning up Sandy Hook during tragic loss of life, per her father's own words? Get the fuck out of here. Okay? Get the fuck out of here. I ain't with it. And I'm not telling anybody what to think or believe. If you would like to hear my super anointed stuff about the incident in Newtown, that's staying on my Patreon. I'm not going deep into that on here. Okay? That was what the Patreon was for. And I do go full schizo with all of that, but I'm not going to be doing that here because it's really not necessary. Now, I do want to show you guys just to, kind of show you what this group is. Bright Horizons Family Solutions, right? There are papers out there. They're kind of like government policy papers. They're published in this magazine called ERIC. Okay, so you see the little ERIC logo down in the bottom left. And we're not going to read this whole thing, but Bright Horizons Family Solutions is the nation's largest provider of employer-sponsored childcare with family centers, I think. I'm trying to read that. Sorry, serving 31,000 children for more than 200 companies, including Boeing, DuPont, Johnson & Johnson, Mattel, Motorola, and the United Nations. Yeah, she this is the struggle right here, right? This is the struggle. The fuck you struggled. Now this is a position paper, obvious. So by Jim Greenman. The title: What Happened to the World? Helping Children Cope in Turbulent Times. Facilitator's Guide and Student's Guide. Bright Horizons Family Solutions, published in 2001, talking about how to provide resources for children who are traumatized by things that the government definitely has not done, right? They definitely have not done. But to bring it into even a more modern example, and fuck you, Wall Street Journal, for putting this behind a paywall, COVID-19 created a childcare crisis, and big providers aim to fill a void. The biggest players in U.S. childcare see an opening in America's caregiving crisis. This feels extremely nefarious to me. I'm just going to say that. National operators such as KinderCare Education and Bright Horizons Family Solutions, Inc. are buying up closed centers, reaching out to parents who lost care during the pandemic, and signing contracts with employers to provide nannies and daycares for their workers.
Hold on.
You want to talk about unspoken victims of the not bioweapon? It's that kind of stuff that people will never know. You dig? Hopefully you dig. I don't expect that anybody is going to address this, not any serious person. But for the people who have half a brain, in my opinion, because fuck you if you think that I'm not allowed to have an opinion, I'm allowed to state it. I'm not telling you what to think, but I do have my opinion. If you take her seriously after learning this information and she does not address it, because this is not anywhere. Anywhere. I looked. I did my due diligence. And this is probably one of the only times that you will see me saying, I did that. Because this was my hard work. Nobody helped me with this. This was me. And I'm putting it out here. And if you see someone jacking my shit acting like it's original, let me know. Because I worked very hard on this. I wanted to be sure. I'm not out here to add chaos and confusion to everything. I think that there's too much of that. But something has felt off about this media campaign and the stuff with Candace and Mappin. That was the initial like, what the fuck is going on with this chick?
Yeah, Mappin is the
And I was like, I've got
Scientology
to try to
like
figure out who her
Christian
family is.
Scientology Christian QAnon guy
There are
in
literal
England.
Yeah, sorry, say that again.
Yeah, so Mappin is so Mappin and Unseen. So basically, what she said is like Candace Owens' dad was like the contractor for like Sandy Hook, and has the same lawyer as Alex Jones, and then John Mappin is like this Christian Scientologist QAnon, bought the uh, King Arthur's castle, and says that like we need to take back England for like Christianity, but also like Christian Scientology. And he introduced Candace Owens to her husband, who's like in the House of Lords, and is like basically royalty, essentially. So, um, yeah. So that's kind of what's going on here. But yeah, John Mappin is like the Christian Scientologist QAnon guru, essentially.
Yeah, I heard you talk about that guy before. Is Unseen here? You mentioned Unseen Warfare.
Well, he's on the panel, but I don't know if
Oh,
he's
okay.
like
Oh, all right.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, I see him. Yeah. Yeah, it's like so tiny. So yeah, sorry. Yeah.
yeah. But yeah,
AI
maybe he'll jump
generated
in a minute.
Yeah, for sure.
websites out there that give various definitions of who her family is, and they're all published this year. And they give the wrong information. They list options of who the mother is. I've found the mom. The mom's in Connecticut. And from what I've found, so are her sisters. And speaking of that, while I'm thinking about it, let me find it, because I am absolutely not going to pull it up, but because it's not my focus today. I have found, again, both of her sisters. Her older sister, Ashley, married a guy, and he's out here. They have a YouTube channel, okay? Married a guy by the name of Gavin Mistel. Gavin has a brother. And I would just like to show you the screen grab from the brother's YouTube. Mistel Music, December 20th, 2012. Okay. When I say that there's something fucky going on here, there's something fucky going on here. And I don't know what it is. And I'm not pretending that I do. What I am saying is that everything surrounding her and her orbit is not organic. She's way more plugged in than I ever could have imagined. Because you remember the last stream, if you guys watched it, I was just being petty, saying that she should talk about, Newtown. That's her home state. Risk it for the biscuit, right? I was being petty. I had not found him yet. I didn't know that there was actually a direct connection.
Oh, well, okay, interesting. So she's from Newtown.
She's from Newtown. This is kind of weird now. This is really weird connections. Yeah, that is actually very.
I should ask Pilliter about that, because I know Pilliter has looked into like Connecticut. Connecticut has like so many weird, like it actually ties directly to what she's talking about, like DuPont's, Johnson and Johnson, a lot of weird shit like that. Yeah, it's pretty weird too, because like one of the Johnson and Johnson heirs like has been going around for like 10 or 15 years or something, like talking about how like the DuPonts and like all these different companies, Johnson and Johnson, like they're like a part of like poisoning people to make people sick or something, allegedly. So it's pretty weird. Like there's a lot of weird stuff going on with that. And again, it's weird because like Scientology is like trying to do like the anti pharmaceutical and chemical stuff. And Alex Jones has been a huge part of that, by the way. He used to have this guy name on this guy on his show a lot called Dr. Group, and Dr. Group is like this guy who's like the son of a chemical engineer of like major companies, and he was producing a lot of the supplements of Alex Jones. And basically, this guy was talking about some of these major companies involved in some, let's just say some not good stuff. And he stopped coming on Alex Jones' show because he got some phone calls saying like we're gonna like guillotine your children's head in front of you and leave it in your front yard if you continue talking about some of the stuff you're talking about. And this guy's like really into like super high level like experimental regeneration treatments and like supplements and stuff like that. And that I was big into that because like honestly I wanted to go do like nutraceuticals and stuff. I always thought that was such a cool idea of like doing more like natural preventative medicine. I always thought that was really cool. But then I found out the deeper I got into it is like everybody involved in that is like either in Scientology or something weird. There's always something weird tied to all of it. So it's a weird industry. Like it ties into Japan, and Japan is like really involved in a lot of that stuff too. So like you have like Mitsubishi chemicals and stuff like that. So it's a huge giant weird thing. And like obviously like Dow Jones and DuPont's and all these different chemical companies are deeply involved in all this stuff. So I don't know, it's pretty weird that because like she kind of mentioned that she's like these guys are like doing childcare for like DuPont and stuff like that. So again, this goes back to me. To me, this also goes back to the fact of like what I was talking about with like YC Combinator and stuff. Like they're looking for the elites kids, and they want to get them in like certain like programs to accelerate their growth, I guess you'd say. So they want like 14, 15-year-old kids to like go work at startup companies and like go to Harvard and like some of these kids are like graduating like Harvard or Yale at like 17 years old, and then they're going off to be like managers in like giant corporations and stuff. So you think about what that means, but essentially it seems like they're doing some weird like social engineering of children to like make them into like super soldiers for the corporate world or something. I don't know, but and I think Scientology is a really good vehicle to do that, from what I understand. But
Yeah, DuPont is the company that had you know, babies in cellophane bags carried by storks, right? And then you could look at the different products that they were sort of brandishing, right? And if you look at Johnson and Johnson, the baby oil was giving people cancer. It had cancerous materials in it, right? They just recently developed a skincare regimen for children with peelable face masks, see-through face masks. People were protesting and saying that little children don't need skincare, right? And I'm reminded of when they gave us the Proactive. I was in high school and they had this Proactive solution where these kids were putting benzene into their face to then cure their pimples or something like that. And so they come up with pretty crazy stuff to basically poison children. I think.
Well, but I think they're also looking at engineering children too. I think that's the other side of it. So
And if you think that you know what happened with that event, and I'm not pretending that I do, but if you think that asking questions makes someone automatically a heartless tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist, thanks to individuals like Alex Jones, fuck you, because you don't know everything. And it's bold of you to assume otherwise. Because I don't think that people should not be allowed to ask questions about something that is blatantly not what we've been told, right? It's not what we've been told. But again, I'm not going into that on here today. What I would like to discuss, because I had also brought this up previously in regards to the topic, is the Baha'i religion. Because with Turning Point, we have the Seven Mountain Mandate.
By the way, the Seven Mountain Mandate, we kind of looked into that thing, but this thing, Baha'i religion, I've looked into this somewhat, and yeah, it's definitely headquartered in Israel, right? And it's definitely like they don't claim to be a religion per se, but it's like they claim to be like combination of a bunch of religions. So it's a universalist sect that includes, I believe, Eastern religions as well as Western religions. So that's
Sounds kind of
the
like sounds like some like theosophy shit or like some Benai Barith or some shit. I don't know.
right, right. That's the distinguish between it and theosophy, because it seems that it's actually truly perennial instead of syncretistic, meaning that instead of combining a bunch of religions, they claim that there's an underlying truth behind all the religious teachings, right? So they believe, so they believe there's a truth that sort of goes in and out of the various religious teachings, whereas in theosophy, they combine specific religious teachings from different sects, right? So
Right. Well, that it actually makes a lot more sense now because I'll tell you this: like I've seen a extremely large amount of people promoting perennialism that doesn't really make sense unless you start thinking that it's a part of a larger narrative or something, you know.
right,
Because I'll be honest with you, like I'm partial to that belief structure in some sense, but at the same time, like how much of that is manufactured versus how much of that is
Heretic!
exactly. Well, I don't mean that I really believe it. What I'm saying is that there's a lot of breadcrumbs that have been dropped to lead people to believe that if you read into history enough, right? So, like I'm saying, like how much of that is organic and how much of that is like it's put there on purpose to like pre-program you to like fall victim to a very particular heresy that doesn't mean what people thinks it means. It might mean like I don't think people who believe in theosophy are thinking like, oh, I want to be a tool of the elite. I think they're thinking. I think a lot of them believe that they're actually against all that, right? And I think that's kind of what I'm trying to get at.
Well, I don't know. Rene Guénon kind of wrote the best critique against theosophy, and you could find that that book that he does a really great job. I posted a video of that recently, but yeah, I'm sure that the majority of people that are in whatever they're involved in, they don't see themselves as like actively pursuing some belief system that is heretical or wrong. They think it's the truth, right? So, but what Father Seraphim says about um, Carl Jung, and it applies to anybody that's kind of involved in theosophy, is they refuse to meet a text on its metaphysical ground. So if they have a tradition, they're pushing it through like a Blavatsky type. They're pushing it through this filter, this very Western, modern, filter of Eastern religions or whatever it may be. And it just becomes syncretist. That's it. Perennialist. Some.
Yeah.
You gotta
Well.
keep it ready.
Yeah. Well, what do you think of what she's talking about with the whole Candace Owens and Scientology and all that shit and Baha'i and Barith or whatever?
Baha'i and Barith. That's funny. Instead of Benai and Barith.
Yeah, yeah. I'm trying to like conflate all these things because they all seem to be crypto something.
No matter what, because like as Nesta Webster sort of points out, is like this is a system, like with many different working parts and institutions, and a lot of times the institutions themselves, people don't know that they're connected within those institutions, right? And you could have like a big grid, and it looks like a damn octopus over the world, kind of, where it's like the Communist Party connecting with the B'nai B'rith and the Birchers, and you know what I mean? It's like one way or another, these people realize that to have the most effect, they need infiltration and to establish as many institutions as possible to get their goals across, right? And that's really how it is, It's a many-headed hydra.
Yeah, absolutely.
You sound hydrophobic to me.
You say what?
So that sounds hydrophobic to me.
Hydrophobic? Man, somebody poured out. Bro, come on, dude.
Hydrophobic. Trigger, please.
She, what happened? What they pour out? They pour out the pimp juice.
You guys, if you saw in my community section, I found Colonel Paul E. Vowley, who wrote Mind War with Michael Aquino on the
this is
board of
crazy.
fucking Turning
Check this
Point.
out. Yeah, so Paul's
Can
right there.
someone
Paul's right
explain
there.
to me
So
how
she
Candace has been bitching about Turning Point?
Yeah. So she found that the guy who wrote Mind Wars with Michael Aquino is sitting on the board of Turning Point USA. I just wanted to make sure people caught
Who?
that.
Who is that? Paul Vallely she's talking about?
Yes, Paul Vallely
Oh,
is sitting on
shit.
the board of.
Fucking Vallely's on the board of TPUSA. That's
Yeah,
actually
exactly.
evil as
So
fuck,
it's like-
bro. All right.
Yeah. So, what does that lead you to believe? I mean, come on. And let me tell you something. I saw a Turning Point USA video event in real life, and they were doing a vigil for Charlie Kirk in like a public place with like candle lights and stuff. And they were saying like this prayer and stuff. And I thought it was kind of like cool, but I can definitely tell you that it felt very cult-like. And what I found very interesting is I went over there to like look at it after they kind of finished what they were doing, and nobody wanted to talk to me, which is kind of interesting. But also, there was like some white people, but I would say it was like 75% non-white people, and like at least 50% women, and none of the women were white. So I don't know. It's interesting. Very interesting.
Racism, dude. Come on, man.
No, like I'm not saying that against it. I just thought it was interesting. I was like, you would expect
on,
it
dude,
to
I'm
be
just
like
playing,
all
man.
white people. No, that it is interesting. Like it's just like it is fascinating. It's like fascinating on many levels. So, and this was a chapter at a local college that's but it was almost all older people. So I don't know. It was just interesting. It's just an interesting
So
experience. Like,
you
I don't know
don't
what
like,
it means, but
the psyop cult that's praying? Dude, come on, man. Leave them alone.
well, yeah. Well, I mean, I did like them. I kind of wanted to talk to them more, but they didn't really seem interested in talking to somebody who wasn't a part of their group. And I mean, I can understand why. They're probably interested. They probably thought they're like, dig info on them or something. But
Did they have
I don't know.
WWE pyrotechnics? At the point of the prayer. You know what I'm saying? Like
No, but they
Goldberg
did have.
coming out. He's like, "We're praying for Charlie Kirk today." Oh.
No, it was very somber, and like I liked it honestly. I thought it was kind of like a nice thing that they were doing, but I definitely got the sense that it was like this weird team building exercise or something. I don't know, but it's kind of I don't know. If you've never been to any public events that are like psyop related, like I've been to the protests for like COVID and stuff like that. Like I've actually seen those in real life. So like if you've never been to those, like you just start like you gotta go and experience it for yourself. Like if you go to like a Turning Point USA or something, like there's videos of it online of like Turning Point USA or like the anti-COVID stuff. Like I'm just saying like almost all these things they feel very cult like, and I don't think that's like an accident. Like it's kind of designed that way in my opinion. But
So I mean, what do you think the whole Charlie Kirk's death was? It's like, yes, this organization is clearly connected. Turning Point USA is connected with the psyop thing, and it's like, yes, it does seem very psyop-y, but I mean, it's like the death is real. That seems clear to me. Is like his death is real. Do you think that?
well, Israel is real, so I guess
Yeah,
that's
how
the
do you know
answer.
that? Just curious.
Well, I mean, I don't know that, right?
Right.
But I'm saying,
So
what do you
that's
guys
the
think?
bottom
Like, do
line.
you think the death is real or not?
I mean, the bottom line is that we don't know.
Right. Well, I don't know. Just based on the footage, what I see, it seems as if they really killed this guy. And my guess is, it's like, okay, they clearly seen just the same way Stalin seen. It's like the guy that was his biggest proponent. He killed him, Sergei something.
Yeah, we should definitely
Romanov.
move forward as if they killed him for sure. Because like right now, like that's, but
Right, you know what I mean. You got like Trump's video of him, and it's like, oh, how are you dealing with Charlie Kirk's death? He's like, we're adding this extension to the White House or something. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
cause say they killed him or they didn't. At the very least, they can remove the man, the memory of the man. They can plan all of that. So that's all I'm saying. It's,
Yeah, I don't know for a fact that he's dead or not, but I'll tell you what I really think is I think that he really is dead, and they really did kill this guy, and I think that it is what it was said from the very beginning. Is because he's like speaking out against Israel and the Zionist, intentions, and when you have a guy who's like in this neoconservative sphere, who's likely a Mason, and he starts going against Israel, right? And a lot of the Masons, I think, don't necessarily know this, but all of Freemasonry is directed towards the cause of the Zionists, right? So if he starts taking this very Candace Owens stance, and I don't know if Candace Owens necessarily, my assumption is is that these people have come in contact with some understanding that, the Christian Zionist narrative isn't true. Okay, that's why maybe Candace is breaking communion, so to speak, with Ben Shapiro, and they're turning against them. I think it's pretty obvious what's going on. I think it's this. They found out the lie that you don't have the Israel that the Bible's talking about isn't the
yeah, but
Zionist Israel.
these are the same guys that created Small Mustache Man.
That's true. That's
So it's
true.
like, so they will do it. They will even pretend as if there's people doing this, right? So it has been proven. Right?
But what do you think, though, Machine? Do you think that at times, like in a situation like this, like, do you think it's impossible for a person to be sincere? It's like,
No, I don't think that. But when they're Freemasons and they work for, let's say Paul Vallely, I'm
yeah,
gonna hedge my bets that probably
no, no,
not. But
no. I agree with you, right? But this is what I think, and I'm not, and like, I'm fully willing to say I'm wrong about this. With a person like Candace Owens or a Charlie Kirk, if they're like indoctrinated into Freemasonry, and they're taught, from the time that they're in there, that, well, yeah, you can be a Christian and a Freemason, but as long as you support Israel, right? That's the kind of narrative. And let's say you come across in your path, because like there's this interview he has with the mob guy that does all the, he's not a mob guy, but he does all the interviews with the mob guys, that guy, right? The interview he has, he starts talking about, I'm seeing patterns of things that are happening. And then Candace Owens kind of goes out and goes against, the narrative of, what's his name? Ben Shapiro. This, there is the possibility that they could be playing the dialectic, but there also is the possibility that they're not playing the dialectic, that they are sincerely seeing we were wrong. And then it's like, huh? What happens in that case? What happens when you got a guy like Kirk that has this giant following who starts turning against the Zionist narrative, right? And I understand the mentality, because the leftists are trained, and I'm not saying you're a leftist, I'm just saying the leftists are trained to instantly denounce anything that's dealing with the rightists. That's a part of the dialectic. But what happens when a sincere person starts becoming a dissident within the movement? I think it's I think that is possible, dude. I think that might be what's happening. I can't prove that, but I don't know.
Well, I think that it's possible. For me, I would say that like the thing that people aren't fully comprehending is that the level of mimetic warfare and psychological operations is at such an advanced level that it relies upon people's sincerity to operate. Does that make sense? And I think that like it would be a much higher form of what they're doing if somebody like Candace Owens or what's his name, Charlie Kirk did believe in what they're doing. If that makes sense, right?
No, I
And I
agree.
think
But
that,
at times, though, I think that we could fall into the trap of thinking things are more complex than they really are. You understand what I'm saying? It's like there could be this type of thing that happens where it's like, oh, like they're too smart, they're too sophisticated, or we're too
Right.
intelligent to fall for this dialectic, and it's not a dialectic. That could happen. You understand what I'm saying? It's like, I'm not saying either way that that's the case, but I think that should be examined more towards the
well,
possibility.
well, I agree with you in the sense that like I think us thinking more simply as religious people makes us much more powerful against what they're doing because they are kind of very complicated and stuff like this. And I think that
Well,
it
let's
really
just
is the
cut to the
fact that most
chase.
people do think complicated is the problem.
Yeah, cut
Yeah,
to the
but
chase.
let's just cut to the chase. They're intentionally blackpilling people to make them think they can't change things. So they are spreading a great level of, oh, the system is in control, you're not.
Okay.
So even though I'm complicit in this, I realize the debilitation of that form of thinking, all right? And I try to preach against it as best I can.
Oh, I'll take an instance with like a Tucker Carlson. I clearly see the disingenuousness of this person, and I see that he's using truth as a weapon, right? And I see that same aspect within, let's say a Candace Owens, right? I feel like they are viewing the people as sort of, the profane or the useless eaters or something like that. But I also think there's a human level of things that if Tucker Carlson sits down with a nun in Jerusalem and they have a conversation and there's someone in his ear, it takes one person to sort of get in his ear and explain to him the distinction why Christian Zionism isn't possible, for them to sort of like, oh wait, the Zionists like Ben Shapiro are pulling a veil over our eyes. Okay, and that does seem to be happening. I think that they genuinely didn't understand the distinction between a Christian Zionist and the way a Christian should view Zionism.
Well,
Right?
well, that reminds me. Maybe we should watch the DPH then, because that's kind of what DPH was just talking about, which is kind of weird. It's like, I don't know. It's kind of a weird, and he was doing it in a very like sterile kind of way too, which was found kind of odd. But
Well,
because
I'm not here like trying to support these people. I'm not saying that, but I guess like Maybe
No, I
I'm
get
not
it.
even
No, no.
thinking this
I mean,
way.
I'm genuinely confused by it myself because I'm like, it's kind of like, I want to support what they're saying, but I'm also
No, I'm
I don't
staying
even
off the
know if
stew
you
with
know.
it. I'm not. That's why I'm not outright saying like this is happening. What I am trying to do is like pose the thought that this is a possibility. That's it.
And I'll be right back, guys. I just have to do something in person. I gotta turn the phone off for 1 second. I'll be right back. Okay.
Okay, so
Yeah.
machine, listen to me about this, right? So in the case, in what have you ever considered this, right? And like, I'm not attacking you by saying this. It's
Yeah, no
like,
worries. Yeah, let them
yeah,
loose.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm just going to be upfront with you. Okay, have you considered like there's a level of like, okay, these people have said these things that I don't like, and like my inclination is just not to like them. Therefore, even if they're being sincere, I'm not going to accept that as. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think that's not useful. Like, for example, I colluded with. See, the way I found you, right?
Right, right,
Is that I colluded with the Orthodox Christian groups. I thought the Crucible represented one of them,
right. Yeah.
right? Because
Okay.
I thought they supported traditional values, right? And they wanted to go
Okay.
back, before 1600s, at least, right? That they did not like Enlightenment philosophy. They rejected classical liberalism, right? So this is why
Yeah.
I attempted to collude with that group of people instead of going on all these liberal debate platforms and giving these outrageous positions saying, well, I reject technology or whatever, and blah blah blah, and they'd say, well, what are you talking about? Are you some kind of a Luddite? Or well, I could have made a splash doing that or whatever, saying like,
Yeah.
I'm a student of Dr. Scribina, but no, I wanted people to comprehend what I'm saying and actually believe in it,
Okay.
right? So I went to people who I thought were earnestly supporting traditional values, i.e., the
Yes.
Christians, right? Who I thought were Christians, right? So when I found out that they actually support a futurist program, right? They support technological progress. I was aghast.
Okay. Okay. All right. So
I
on
was
the
aghast.
subject of technological progress, what do you consider like? I guess is a guy using? Let me just ask you this straight out because I want to know: is a guy using a cell phone supporting technological progress, or like using a computer?
No, I don't think that technological progress functions on the level of individual use. So
Okay,
I've
well,
continuously maintained this
I'm not
position.
attacking you right now, brother.
Oh no,
I
no,
just
no,
want to
no!
like
It's fine. You don't
I
have to
want to
keep
know
saying that.
what you really think.
No,
You know
here's
what I'm saying?
no. Here's the thing. Let me just stop you right now. Right?
Okay.
You can attack me. You're allowed to do that. You're allowed to question my positions. You're allowed to even disagree with them. Right?
Right.
So please don't apologize to me. Just attack my positions, and I'll do the best to defend them. It's fine.
Okay. So this is a big thing, I think. Right? It's like in the situation, like okay, you could say, let's say you apply that belief, like okay, you're supposed to unseen warfare, not them. Let's say you said this. You said you unseen warfare are supposed to support traditional belief systems within orthodoxy, and you're using a cell phone, right? Let's say that. Let's say that was the argument. How can you, as a monk, do this, right? And I guess my reply to that, I guess, because that's how I feel, is the big question from some people. And my response to this is like, why wouldn't I, if this is something that is like used within our society? The fact of the matter is, it's like, I'm an American. This is a part of, the outward culture of what we do. Yes, I've become an Orthodox Christian and I'm taking the steps to be as traditional as I can, but I'm also still an American at the end of the day with these things around me. And it's like,
Yeah.
how am I supposed to reach the people in my society if I don't use the tools that the people that are my enemies are using in the
Well, that's the
society?
thing.
You know
Is
what I
like,
mean?
yeah. Well, that's what Uncle Teddy says in Anti-Tech Revolution: Why and How. Right. I sent you the PDF to it. Right. He
Right,
says you
right,
have to use technology against technology, or else you'll lose the fight.
right. And like I agree
So
with that. Okay,
yeah. So that's so out of the three positions I actually sent you recently, right, that I talk about on my show, right, or I'm going to elaborate on my show, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Uncle Teddy's is the most extreme, and that's what he's saying. So even in the most extreme, you know, response to the technological system, they don't reject the use of technology. Is what I was trying to
So
point
there's
out there.
still some form of moderation within Ted's view.
Exactly. Right.
Okay.
Right. So he does not promote the wholesale rejection of technology, right? And they're not looking at it in terms of use, right? If I could elaborate, let me put on this. This is the
Okay.
intro to my
Before you do,
channel. Yeah.
this is the main question I want to ask you. In what way do you see, and it's a sincere question, it's not like I got you in it at any means, man. In what way do you see that the Crucible and these people are using technology or supporting the technological progress that's going to lead to the enslavement of man, or has led to it?
Well, they are actually directly in collusion with, people who support the same ideology as people like Thiel, right? Musk, right? Trump. They've supported Trump. Right, if
That's
Trump
true.
putting the Thiel Bros and all these people in charge is not enough for you, then I don't know how to convince you. Essentially,
No, I mean I'm not I'm not asking that, like saying that it's not the case. That's not what
right?
I'm
It
saying.
is the case. Right. It's clearly the case, but it's pretty obvious how it's proven, right? Because
Right.
one, the system functions as a whole. It's moving towards one direction. They support the direction it's moving towards, and they want to, support institutions like data harvesting, right? Palantir, etc. AI systems. They said actually that this is a great promotion, right? Andrew Wilson actually went in a debate with Muslims and said that the Christian civilization is holding up all of Islamic society because of their technological progress.
Yeah.
So these are all examples that I would cite, right? That they are actually very much supporting the fact that Christianity has led to technological progress. They've actually cited many of these thinkers that there's a direct correlation between Christianity and technological progress. This is an assumption of theirs that I'm very much against, in support of Christianity and in support of traditional values. You see what I mean? So I believe that I'm doing more to preserve traditional values than they are, right?
Okay, here's my question, though. Okay, as far as technological progress is concerned, it's like, do you think that there is any possibility that a Christian could rightly and justly, I see it as something neutral, right? This is my belief system. I don't think it's necessarily a Christian act for a Christian, let's say an Orthodox Christian, to be involved with the development of computers, right? I see that as just something neutral. It's something that, okay, we're a part of society. This is where the way things are going, and it's a byproduct of modernity, and or something like
Right.
that.
Again, right? Who do you blame for the system that's in place, right? Do you blame people who run the computer systems, right? Or do you blame some farmer in some village in some small town, right? Not everybody's equally complicit in the way the system is run.
I agree. Yeah.
So if you're saying that there's individual choices do matter, right? Then it's imperative to realize this.
Well, okay. So I guess I don't know how to explain it, man. I feel like
For
I
example,
guess my critique about you
right?
is
For
this.
example, right? Like I
Go
could
ahead.
say with confidence, right? That somebody like for example, right? Like I'd measure the weight they'd put into this experience, right? And what they're doing based on it, right? So are they challenging the machine on the machine, right? Is that what they're spending their time doing, right? Or are they using it to collude with people to promote things that also underlie and belie, that same level of progress. So not everybody's equally complicit, right, in the way the system is run, right? But there's
I
people
agree.
who rely on it more than others.
Okay. So it's like this. This is the way I see it, though. Okay. Yeah, the system's here, and Mullen said this. He said it was a blessing from God that we had something like the internet to get the truth out. Would you agree with that?
I have to disagree with Mullins on that one. The
Why?
reason is because it's been used to suppress his writings.
Whether it's used to suppress his writings or not, the system is still there in order to get the truth out.
By burying it in a pile of lies? I don't understand.
Sure, you can bury truth in a pile of lies, but that doesn't mean that truth doesn't cut through the lies, right?
So the same system that produced the pile of lies should be rewarded for bringing out Eustace Mullins?
I'm not saying it's rewarded. I think that it should be, acknowledged at least that the system has, can be used to promote truth.
Here's the thing:
and
is
it
that
can be used to bring people within the church, and it can be used for good things. And,
right, but here's the thing:
I don't think it's just like it can't be like put in this black and white thing where it's just like it's bad.
Right, but here's the thing: is like all those occult thinkers that Eustace Mullins is talking about, they overtly supported technological progress and millenarianism. So, as you said, they're chiliastic in their aspirations. Right, so
don't you think there's a mean between extremes with the critique, though? And what I mean is this: is like, yes, we don't necessarily have to agree with where the direction technological progress is going, but
here's what I'm saying. No, but here's what I'm saying, right? Eustace Mullins is critiquing a problem that's created by the system that's created him. So how is he winning the fight?
What's his critique of the system that you feel like was created in the system? I'd have to know that.
Like for example, the Federal Reserve, financial techniques, right?
Okay. All right, but okay. What's the relation between the financial techniques and truth being used within the system?
There's a whole ideology of creating value out of thin air from alchemy and the Kabbalah that they've supplanted to justify.
I understand that, Machine,
to justify their creation of value.
Yes, right? I guess my view of this is, how could we say that the system doesn't have some
not only that, usury
value to it?
Usury is an example, right?
Okay, but you don't have to support usury. There, in the same way that usury is being promoted with such a system, there's people denouncing usury on that system. And the system itself is just like, in the background of that. True
or false, right? All of the wealth in the world is controlled by interest. True or false?
Sure.
Okay, now true or false? Interest is banned in the Bible as usury.
Sure.
Right. So this is the issue. Is that the problems are endemic in the system, right? So it's not.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I think my whole thing is like, so it's kind of like, okay, yes, this is happening, right? But how could you consider it a sin to use the system for good?
I don't.
Right? Like,
I don't.
But didn't you just say that you don't think that God has given us the internet in some way to promote good?
I don't know if I've said that. I believe that Eustace Mullins is critiquing the evil, right? So he's critiquing the system, right? So he's just simply standing juxtaposed to this mess that's going on and critiquing it, and the same thing that he's critiquing is suppressing him from doing it.
But I mean,
I'm just wondering like, how that's a plus for the system.
He's saying this, like, okay, he said this when I'll give you an example. He's at a little meeting, and at this little meeting, he's having a conversation with the people there, and he's like, if we're looking in terms of like efficiency, no, Eustace Mullins is not getting his point across to the masses, right? The mass amount of people are following along,
and he's right. Like, if the system were turned towards exposing the truth, like 1 week of Eustace Mullins shows on CNN or something like that, or like Uncle Teddy, even right in the Washington Post, like it makes a huge fucking difference, right?
Yeah, you know what I mean? And it's like, I guess the way I'm looking at it is that within a week's time, like he's saying, it's like you could have a situation where the American people could be more, I guess, like informed. Now, would you say that the system would be evil if it was in the hands of people that were informed?
That's the thing, is that he believes that the system can be used to spread information like that for a week, and I don't believe that that's possible.
Well, let's say 2 weeks.
Not the same system that's using Paul Vallely to create Turning Points USA and other hoaxes. You get what I'm saying, right? No, not that system.
I understand, but
Like that's fantastical to assume that such a thing will even take place. He's right. Hypothetically, he is right, and I believe that is all he's made. He's only made a hypothetical point, which works very low for the bar of morality. That
well, I
of
mean, if you're looking in terms of efficiency, but I mean, if you're looking in terms from a Christian concept of each soul or each person is worth more than just like churning out salvation or something. You know what I mean? It's
right,
like it's like if I could get the truth to one person and it changes their belief system in some way to get them in the church and start participating in the sacraments, I don't
right.
care about the systems. The fact that I use the computer to get them to come to church.
Right. And this is what I'm saying is that imagine how many more people you would reach if there wasn't constant noise in everybody's fucking ears. Like how many more people wrote books back then than now? How many more
But
saints were
that it's
produced by your church
again
back
on
then
your
than
point
now?
about a hypothetical. It's like that's a hypothetical. Like what if not?
No,
What
it's
if God?
not. No, it's not. That's cold hard facts about
The
history and
cold
how it
hard
functioned.
facts is we live in a society where it exists.
No, the cold hard facts is that you live in a society that suppresses the means that you use to spread the information that you're spreading, and there
I
were a lot
agree.
more true
The
Orthodox.
first
Hold
week
on,
I got on
there were a lot
Twitter.
more true
Okay,
Orthodox Christians, right? But
the first week
in
I
the
got on
previous
Twitter,
age,
what did they do? They limited my reach. Okay,
right,
they
right. Were
they
there more
they
Orthodox Christians back then than or now? See, this is what I mean, right? Right. It's clear that there's a lot more pretenders now, right? But that's because they're able to pretend because there's millions of people are able to commit heretical acts because of the internet. It's leading millions of people to heresy. Yes, you may save like 2 or 3 people, and I applaud you for doing that. I think that those 2, 3 people are worth than all of those millions of people that are led astray. I wholeheartedly believe you on that.
right.
But you know what I'm saying?
Well, yes, the system itself is leading more people to heresy than it is leading them to truth. That's true. I will admit that. But in a worldview that doesn't look at efficiency, what does that matter? It's idealism in that sense to me. It's just the same as in Isaiah's day when
Right.
he went and he went into a village and nobody listened to him. Or
Right.
in
Yeah. No,
Ezekiel's
I
day
agree.
when he
Yeah.
went into a village and nobody listened to him. That's expected from the Christian point of view. We know people are going to mock us and hate us and say we're idiots and reject everything we say.
Right.
That's a part of it. You know, whether that happens or not doesn't have it's like the intent is what matters, and the intent and the use and I think because I'm viewing this not in the eyes of men, I'm viewing it. What does God think about me and what I'm
Yeah.
doing?
Y- y- like like from my personal point of view, I think that people have a problem believing in the gospels because they have miracles in them and people have imbibed a worldview that does not make room for things like miracles. Right? So that
I
would be the
agree.
top reason. It's not only a function of how the system performs, but also the ideological basis for the system itself. And that's why I call it techno liberalism, right? That it engenders a liberal psychology, it imposes a liberal psychology, right? So I think these guys are incredibly right about that assessment, right? That that actually that people are that this type of person is created, right?
Yeah, where they're sort of possessed by this type of thinking through the propaganda in some way. I agree. That's true. And they're trained to sort of dismiss miracles, and they're trained to dismiss anything that would seem to be not possible, or
Right.
according to their logical skepticism or whatever. You know what I mean?
Right. Even though they believe like 100 impossible things before they eat breakfast.
Right,
Right.
exactly. Yeah, I agree. Exactly. That's absolutely true. Um, it's like you got 5 fingers on one hand, 5 finger on the other. You got 2 legs, 2 arms. There's symmetry about a flower. Like, okay, but there's no possible way there was an intellectual creator that created this. You know what I mean? That seems absurd to me. All right, and I I think that after the fall, at the point, man started creating things to deal with the fact that he's no longer in paradise and directing him. He's wanting to make paradise on earth. Absolutely, the technological system is uh, a part of modernity. It's a byproduct. I was telling you, it's like this thing that has developed because man is looking for comfort because he can't deal with the falling world he has put himself in, right? um and it's unfortunate. I don't sit here and say like I enjoy getting on the internet and having people tell me like, I want to kill you or like come and see you. I don't enjoy that. But what I do enjoy is getting emails from people that saying like, uh, you helped me come out of world orthodoxy, and that happens. And it's not nowhere close as many as the people as they convert. But like, we're talking about, it's that one person that matters to me more than the thousands or 100,000s that are being led astray. And it's not that I don't care about those people and that I don't think that the system is a part of that, but is it the system itself that's causing that, or is it the people on the system that's causing that? It's the same thing about a gun and and who's at fault? Is it like the people are people at fault for not using the system for good?
Yeah, I mean, like, like, like what I was talking about with Neurojack earlier, right? I
Okay.
mentioned that, you know, that um that they are sort of opposing, right, this idea of traditional values by saying that Western progress, right, has been caused by Christianity, right? So they believe in a sort of Christo-liberalism, right? And what they're promoting in lieu of that, right, is that Jews and atheists are closer to Western values than Muslims, right? So it's pretty clear to me that you know, Christians and Muslims had an equal part in building the world that we live in today. Jews and atheists have not, right? So when you look at the medieval accomplishments, you look at all of the Arabian countries and their sort of establishment and like like who they were, and you look at Persia and Iraq and all these countries, and you look at all of the other countries, in Europe, right, who
Hmm.
have sort of the Christian ethos, right, that they
Right.
had a traditional framework, right? So previous to this modern world, there was throughout most of the world, right, either a Christian or Islamic ethos that shared a need for traditional values or traditional culture, right? So what I'm saying is that it's a fight between um, these people who are the wedge of history, right, the Europeans,
Hmm.
right, either joining the idea of Israel, which is the technological progress, right, or taking a step back, right, and joining the third world, right, the global South and the Muslims, right, sort of in maintaining traditional values by rejecting the technological scope, right, which is if you look at at least certain societies in the world, they've been able to reject features of liberalism,
Yeah.
right? Like for example, they've maintained a traditional family structure,
Yeah.
right? So on and so forth, right? So if that is preferable to and conducive to the practice of religion, then I think if that's the foundational goal of my life or your life, then we should promote that.
I agree, and if I'm not out here like promoting, you know, the system, and I feel like that, those guys probably are in some ways that I don't I don't watch them that much, so, but I would assume that is happening, and I would assume the reason they're doing that is because they're making money in some way or what, they're kind of selling out. But that's the big critique from true orthodoxy about world orthodoxy, is that these are secular people, and
Right.
that they're not they're following KGB and Freemasons. Like, so yes, they're not discerning enough to understand that you can't follow heretics. I don't expect them to understand like why selling out to some corporations that technically enslaving man is an issue, right? That seems obvious, right? So but I don't know. I just try to focus on getting people in the church. That's it, and I do the little I can. I tell people where churches are and where they are, what churches probably wouldn't be the best place to go or something. But I know it's not my efforts it's truly going to change people. And Saint Ignatius said something that's like, Christianity's goal isn't persuasion. It's most effective when it's hated. So, I say.
Yeah, and that's like we discussed earlier, it's a multifaceted head, right? So I don't think that anybody can fight it by either using technology or rejecting technology. It's a more nuanced approach that has to be taken. To define the terms of who's complicit to what degree, right? All of these sort of metrics need to be honored and analyzed. But first, we need a sort of a true moral calculus, to determine like just what has brought us closer to God and the truth. And what's brought us further away.
That's true. This aspect I think the big problem with them is that they think that, you can be fully a part of the American culture and still be an Orthodox Christian, right? And that you don't have to change anything. God's sort of this constitutional monarch. You worship Orthodoxy on Sunday. You don't even have to like make Orthodox arguments. You can make secular, deist arguments and still consider yourself Orthodox. But that's the modernist view, right? Like the modernist view is that Christianity is just, this second nature thing that you live your life and you have your religion and it's just Sunday and it's for 30 minutes on Sunday or whatever. That's usually the Protestants, but or three hours on Sunday or whatever it is. And then you go back and you return to the way you were living prior to acting like you're this pious person within the church, right? So in that sense, these guys aren't going to see any issue with, not upholding the traditional values of Christianity. If they see no issue with doing away with a calendar that was like instituted at the First Ecumenical Council by saints, they have no shame about them, right? And it's like, okay, and in some ways, like, true Orthodox are stuck in this position where it's like we have to, in some ways, meet them on some grounds because they're being so effective in this space. It's like if we don't speak up, what's going to happen? Like everybody's just in America is going to think that that's the church, and it's not for traditionally minded Orthodox Christians. The internet is that's why you don't see too many true Orthodox priests online because they're stuck with this either like, do I get on there and deal with the slander and attacks from people like, why are you a priest and on the internet? Or do I, just pray or something? And I'm at the point, it's like, I feel like action needs to happen and we need to fight these people in these spaces. That's where I'm at with it, and I got a lot of flack for it. It is what it is. And I understand how it can seem, but I don't think everything is how it seems, And maybe
Yeah,
I'm too
actually,
stupid to understand the real problem, like
right.
That's possible. I'm not above that. I'm pretty stupid at times. Here, Rick. Hey, man.
Yeah, that's the thing is like, if you find out, by see, eventually this is what has to happen is because people get offended at small things. So, I mean, it's not really about offending people in terms of personal stuff. I mean,
Right.
I'm willing to take it there just to find out who somebody is if they start leveraging personal attacks against me, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But the fact is that like it's about testing their ideology and then figuring out who they're working with because it's like at this stage, like I could give less about like making friends out here. Like the real people are just gonna stick around. You know what I mean, right? Like, so
Right.
why do I need to chase anybody down or try to work with anybody? It's actually stupefying. So I mean, yeah, I mean I've burned lots of bridges out here. I mean, just like in the last 2 weeks, like numerous people have said, "Well, we're not working with the machine lies anymore because he said this and that." I mean, it's like,
So
oh
be
yeah,
it.
that's fine.
So be it. You know, and
Yeah, so be it.
I think that one of the reasons, I don't know if you feel the same way, is that uh, me and you have been pretty good friends, is because we don't kiss ass to each other, man. I tell you how
Right.
it is, and you tell me how it is. We might not agree all the damn time, but there's a level of respect there. So that's how I view it. Maybe you have a different view, but that's how I see things.
Yeah, like a lot of these relationships are sycophantic, and it shows when somebody's this one-sided conversation, right? And yeah, it's
But do you feel like that's the case with our me, me and you, or what?
not at all, not at all.
Yeah, I hope not. I hope not, dude. Because I feel like a true friend, they're gonna say um, the shit that you don't want to hear. I mean, being frank about it. You know what I
Exactly
mean?
right. Oh yeah, yeah. I've always had
And
that.
it's because I'm never gonna say something that I don't feel like I need to be, I that needs to be said, dude. And like we could war on it, but at the end of the day, I'm gonna tell you I love you, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Because you're my guy, dude. Like I consider you a homie, and in
Yeah,
life,
same, bro.
I would ride for you. You know what I mean? Like whatever. Like I'm a street dude that came from street situations, and I've never had any situation where it was like, oh, this guy's like this religious, so therefore I'm not gonna help him if some absurd stuff is going on or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Like
I don't want to say like like I grew up poor or anything like that. Like my parents made sure I had everything I wanted. All right, so I don't want to put them down in that way, right? But yeah, we came from Pakistan. I was more on the weird end of society. I didn't know how to speak English. A lot of the people that we moved to were like hillbillies.
oh
They didn't
shit.
really like me very much. So yeah, I
Mm.
haven't had like lots of friends. But yeah, I consider you a true friend, homie. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, dude, come on, man. But there's there's always going to be issues between my belief system and your belief system. We know that, right? It's like there's fundamental differences within that, within the system itself. Within the religion itself. It's not a system, really. It's a religion, man. And I don't try to be ever disrespectful towards you, and you've never been towards me that way. It kind of reminds me of that that scene in that movie where it's like, what's his name? The guy that played in Fight Club, and he meets with Saladin or whatever. Like, I feel like that's my relationship with you in a lot of ways, dude. And Saladin is like, yeah, I'll send my doctors to you or whatever. I forget. Well, it's Kingdom of Heaven. That's what the movie's called.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Those are Templars, but he does say some like potent things. Like, you can't say to God that you didn't know.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
Yeah, I haven't watched it in a while. I'm probably gonna watch that tonight.
Yeah, it's a
You
killer
know,
movie.
I don't know. Father Seraphim says something, and like a lot of there's some people that are pissed at
Man, that
the
white
fact.
girl in that movie.
Oh
Oof.
yeah,
Good lord, the princess or whatever. Good lord,
Uh
dude.
so Father Stephen
Yowza.
says something interesting, right? This is what he said about this. He said, he took his students that he would teach. He kind of would do lectures at the monastery, and he took them to go see plays at times. And this was his mentality. It's like it's not a traditional Orthodox thing to go to see a play, right? And it scandalized certain people, but those same people would probably watch TV all day or something. You understand what I'm saying? It's like they don't live. It's like, are you a doer of the law or are you a judge of the law? But anyways, he would take these students to go see plays and stuff, and he felt as if like a good book or even a play, you could learn something from it if you had the correct context of to way to view the thing, for. And it's like he wasn't ignoring the fact that we live in a modern American society that's kind of secular, right? And in that sense, it's not like he's giving into the secular world by taking them to go see the play. In a certain sense, it's an acknowledgement that this is the world we live in. This is you guys are going to go see TV shows and movies and all types of things when you're not at church. Uh, why should the church kind of ignore the world around it? We can be dead to the world. That doesn't mean we can't associate with the world, almost to like critique it in some ways and understand it. It's
Yeah,
being in the world but not of the world.
right, right. Yeah, I was gonna mention that. Like, I think like Alul does a good job at using that to look at the technological situation, right?
Okay.
So yeah, because he's like, I could critique something only if I'm a part of it, but I'm part of it, so I'm conditioned by it, yet I don't have to associate with it. Right? So it's like, and I could be conscious of how it's involved with me. Right? I don't have to be affected by it. Right?
Right. I think it gives you weapons to sort of combat it in
Oh
ways.
yeah, mental. It's a perfect mental position to be in because you understand both, practicality and vision. Right? So it's like,
Yeah.
unless you like have both, it's like you're not going to actually see what's going
What's the
on.
world trying to do to you? Right. And it's
Right.
like, how can we defend ourselves against this? And you might not be able to defend yourself against every aspect of it, but at least you're making some effort
Yeah.
to do so, as opposed to just letting it take you over completely. And I
Right.
think, that's.
Right. Right. I read Hagakiri, right? And he's got some pretty great principles. He says negligence is an extreme thing. You have to be
Mm,
disciplined in your most minute actions. Right? He said once you enter a fight, don't think of victory or defeat. Like that's actually false. Right? A false way to look at the situation. Once you've already made your calculations, just plunge recklessly into the fight. Right? And then he says, actually, all you have is your present means to achieve what you want at this moment. That's how you should look at tactical situations. Right?
I
So yeah,
agree
so
with that, because if you overthink the situation, you're going to be defending things, a strike that doesn't end up there or something. It's just not. It's not going to come from that angle. And I don't know. I know in my own life, like whenever I've planned something, and people say this, it's kind of like a common kind of cliche type thing to say, but it's like, you know, things don't ever work out how you planned, ever. There's always going to be some hook wrench in what's happening, and that's really, I'm not. I don't think anybody's really just like a perfect human being that's going to make the right decision at all times, and that's not expected of us in that way. I don't think. It's like we deal with what we can. And within Orthodoxy, especially amongst the saints, they're always talking about falling and getting back up. It's like the problem isn't the fall; it's staying down, right? It's like getting back up is a part of, I guess, moving forward in your spiritual life. So that was the difference between Judas and Peter. Um, Judas fell and stayed down. Peter fell and went and repented, right? It's like,
Yeah. Yeah, or my mom told me one day, she said she really laughed one day because I almost fell on my ass and then I
yeah,
caught myself. And then I said, "Oh, I'm okay." She really laughed at the fact that I noticed that I was okay after I almost fell. Like it's a detachment from myself and what happened to me. Right? It's like funny, right? Weird moment.
what do you think the future is going to be like with the technological system?
I think it's a matter of time before they combine humans with the machines. I think that these humans are going to be not under their own control, and I think finally it's going to come to a decision that people who are brave are going to have to make to try to eliminate these people, or to let humanity fall. Right? And I think actually, yeah, they will be run through some sort of central computer, and I think that Jesus will, you know, uh, most likely defeat this computer. Right? That's my, like, you know, is what I think.
So,
It's based
you
on where
know,
it's headed so far. I think the technical complexity will get more severe. That they will have only one option, which is to combine human beings with the machines,
mhm.
right? In some way, that they will be controlled through a central system, and the people who are not machines will have to distinguish who's a machine and who's not a machine. Form their
I
own
see.
society.
And that's going to take some level of discernment,
Oh yeah,
you know.
huge discernment. I think most people are going to believe that the machine is Jesus and that it's saving everyone. So they're going to be living in a system and thinking that the machine that's causing everybody to stay alive, through the nanites, is
Yeah.
actually like Jesus or something like that. That they're going to be convinced of this. That they're going to be convinced of the deception. And I already see the markings of that happening because people trust the system. They don't know why. They think it's moving in the right direction. They don't question it.
Mm,
Right. So these same people will accept the mark of the beast.
right.
Essentially, they've already been. It's already been discerned who will do it and who will not. In my opinion, I mean, it's like, and it's not the people you think it's going to be. Just like in the time when the jabby stabby stuff happened, it wasn't the people, you know, it wasn't like the line wasn't drawn. The line was drawn between people who question, people who want to know the truth, people who believe in righteousness,
Right.
and and truth above all things, and the people who just not that anybody who rejected it was on a morally higher or superior plane. I didn't see that personally. Right? It seemed like they were the same schmucks, right? Right.
Right. You know, I know within the Catacomb Church, the critique from there was a Saint Mark. I forget his name. It starts with like a G or something. Saint Mark. He's like one of the Catacomb saints, and he's talking about the mark of the beast. And he's watching the Bolsheviks take over Russia. He's watching them take over the church. He's watching all this happening, and he's watching people sort of get snowed by these people doing this, setting up their puppet patriarch and doing all that stuff. And what he said is like some people, the ones that have accepted the mark on the right hand are the ones that accepted the actions of Antichrist, and their actions are in accord with the actions of Antichrist. And the ones that have accepted it on the forehead are their belief system is directed towards supporting Antichrist mentally. So there's some people that mentally can feel as if they're Christians or Orthodox in that case, but their actions show otherwise. They're willing to, accept the baptism from the KGB agent. They're willing to bow to the Freemason. They're willing to be a part of that system, and that's what we're seeing right now. I think, with what's going on. And the majority of people feel as if just knowing the information, especially in that world, Vladimir Moss says it. He says, Orthodox Christians today see the Antichrist and globalism and all these other things, but fail to see that their patriarchs are heretics that are leading them into the church's condemnation. And it's like, this is the understanding of Antichrist I have, right? And it's like, I do see aspects of the technological system that are Antichrist in nature, or like, it's like a techno-satanic world we're living in, where, this false progress and, all the things we always talk about. This is the system that's going to, sort of lead up to the Antichrist. And, in many ways, I do feel like, I struggle with this. Like, should I use the system to point out the truth, or should I not? Should I just, keep to myself? For 5 years, I did that. I refused to be on any social media. Wouldn't do anything. And then it just like, it gets to a point where I'm watching people in this atmosphere, in this sphere, lie so much, right? And tie knots. It feels like if I don't speak, then it's like blood's on my hands, That's how I feel.
Yeah, because we could speak now, but later when they've got some chick running around with a robotic arm that could smash you through a fucking wall. This is the thing. Like we should it's like we have the luxury to speak at the moment, right? And it's like, this is what I like, right? And we're losing that luxury day by day by like drones and all that type of stuff. Advanced systems, surveillance. Like you said, they'll remove information that's posted online. I've seen that too.
Right.
Like hide stuff from you. You're not the only one that I've seen complain about that sort of thing. Right?
Memory holding,
memory holding things.
Yeah.
Yeah, you go back to a web page, it's gone all of a sudden.
Happens all the time. And another thing they do is they'll get you to give your source. They'll ask for the source. Then once they get you to give the source, then they'll knock the page down.
Right.
Prove what you're saying is true. Oh, you proved it true. Now I'm gonna knock your page down.
Yeah, or just now, like the modern day debate video, right?
Yeah.
It just started playing an ad, and this is hours after I stopped watching the video. So a random tab on my computer started playing an ad, and I go to see which one it is. Oh, it's the modern day debate window, right? So they'll be running ads when you're not even playing anything. It's like, what? Just to generate profit for some people, so you could see how the system is rigged in this way and many other ways.
Dr. Matthew Raphael Johnson sort of pointed out that there's a distinction between the government and the distinction between the corporations in America. That there were some people within our government that were against this. Of course, they're few and far between, and it's like, oh, you got one vote out of 300 or something for something good, So I mean, it's not effective because the system's rigged, and they are still buying into the system, and in ways, they become a tool for the ones that are directing things, deeper and deeper into the satanic forces in our world, because then it gives people this false hope. I feel like that's what it is. It's like we'll have one politician out there, or like a couple, to tell the truth, to make the people still believe in the system itself. You get what I mean? It's the same way in Orthodoxy. Like they'll give you your Father Peter Harris, and Father Peter Harris will come out and tell you all about the traditional values of the church. But at the base of everything, he's compromised, and he's only leading you within an institution that's directed towards Antichrist. and there's people within that system, the ecumenists, that are like looking down at Father Peter Harris and talking bad about him and saying all types of things, and they think they can quote fight from within. And the fight from within movement is almost like a representation of every political system and institution in the world, where you'll have a few voices of truth that are sort of like crying out in the wilderness within the system, and no one listens to them. They
Well, that's
mock
the thing
them.
is like, would you rather be a bearer of the light within the tribe, or would you rather be like, somebody who ironically supports something they don't like because they're too scared to critique it for real? So it's like, just be a fucking bearer of the light within the true tribe, motherfucker. Like, stand on something. Like,
Yeah,
stop
like
being a
why are you fence
Discordian, like,
sitting? Like
moron.
where
Yeah.
you're staying in the institution with the heretic, saying all the things that the ones that are telling the truth are saying, but you're not willing to give up,
Right.
all the benefits you get.
Yeah. So you can't have your cake and eat it too. See, this is what I'm.
Yeah, you can't fence
This
sit.
is the point I'll make, and it's kind of like I mean, this is the line that got, Uncle Teddy caught, by the way, because he
Yeah.
said, you can't, eat your cake and have it too. So he said it wrong or something like that, and it was a highly specific way that he said things, and
Hmm.
so he got caught based on linguistic analysis.
Oh, so it's like didn't his brother or whatever like see something and
Right,
yeah, okay,
right, but it's so funny because
right.
it's actually such a key line. Right, you can't have your cake and eat it too.
You
Right,
can't.
it defines the point about technology so clearly. Right, like you can't
Oh, I
like
see what you're saying
yeah,
right
like from
now.
his point of
Okay.
view, you're right,
Yes,
right to rebut our previous discussion.
I
But
see
yeah,
what you're saying. Yeah.
from
Okay.
Uncle Teddy,
You know,
the extremist, right? And I do believe he's too extreme, but yeah,
I don't know. Because like there's a video I sent you a long time ago, like a couple months ago, and I watched it, and it's like the Orthodox perspective, and I think it came from like Mount Athos or something on technology. And I listened to it once, and it's not my expertise. This really isn't, but I think it is important. I'm not saying it isn't, and I've learned a lot from you and your, the community around. Um, and these are like subjects I need to think out about more and like understand more, because I don't understand them that well. I just don't. It's not,
yeah.
um,
Somebody, I saw one video. A guy, his name is Father Spiridon. Now I know that's probably a common name, so it might
Rocore
not.
MP.
Yeah, he's probably one of those popular guys, right? But he said
Mm-hmm.
something I found useful. He made something about television and like warning people like not to engage too much in the television, right? And he said like there's a practice where you watch yourself, where you got to watch yourself, so you can't like give your eyes to random shit that's going on, right? You have to be aware of what you're watching the watching or something like that,
That's
and right?
true. It
You know,
is
so
true.
yeah, so I was like,
What the
yeah, that
world's
is
gonna do to you. Yeah.
right, right. So I was like, that seems like a powerful remedy against television, but yeah.
Well, hold on. I got a quote from one of the catacomb saints about television. Actually, let's see if I can find it. Hmm.
Yeah, but I think in Second Chronicles it says, "God save us from the imagination of the thoughts." Right, so you don't want to put things in your mind that may contribute to imagination of things that are unwanted. Right, so it's like
Yeah,
you know,
this is a quote from Saint Servan. Says, "In America, it is evident that the daily newspapers, radio, and television, public schools, supermarkets, fashions, virtually everything that exerts any kind of influence upon the mind or taste is directly or indirectly involved in destroying the Orthodox worldview, in making true orthodoxy seem, quote, fanatical, quote, out of step with times, and in persuading Orthodox Christians to get up their high ideal of making orthodoxy permeate the whole of their life in order to, quote, get along better in the world and, quote, fit in with other confessions and worldviews. Against this unrelenting attack, the Orthodox Christian must wage a constant, conscious battle, or else he simply will not remain Orthodox, and most certainly his children will be lost.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like, like I don't think that Muslims who pray are more holy than ones who don't, right? But personally, because I've seen Muslims who pray who do horrible things, right? So I don't applaud them for that, and right, I think they're hypocrites in their prayers, right? I mean, in the Quran it says, woe to those who pray in order to be seen, right, and neglect the feeding of the poor, right? So there's people who they behave one way about prayers, and when it comes to actually doing things in the world, they falter, right? So there's like all this idea and concept behind it, but this whole idea, like it's like you go and like have an awareness even 5 times a day, or even 3 times a day, or
Right.
even 1 time a day. You go to a place and you say, and you act as if God is watching everything you do. I think it's extremely important. Like I think it's extremely important to have that awareness and be like, no, there is actually a force that's watching all of us. That can't be, logicked away or reasoned away. And it's just, it's beyond comprehension, and to come to terms with that and try to communicate, and live as if God is watching your every move, right? Or pray as if that prayer is going to be your last prayer because you don't know what's going to happen next. Right, I think that there's a very important thing for anyone to come to terms with.
I agree with that. There's this understanding within the Gospels that it talks about this. It's like doers of the law and judges of the law, right? And oftentimes within true Orthodoxy, that's a major problem. There will be people that are so scandalized about things. They're scandalized every moment of the day about something, and they don't hold themselves to those standards. They just don't. So if they see a monk eating to excess, well, they eat to excess all the time, or they slander people and defile the name of men and do all types of things, and then they go out and sort of judge people for the same thing that they're doing, and that is a problem, And I think none of us are insulated from delusion. None of us are insulated from sin or doing the wrong thing. But if a man is wise, at least he can see his mistakes and try to correct them in some way. And the unfortunate thing definitely in the modern world is that we see a lot of people within the world that look for any little thing to sort of denounce somebody. And I think that Saint Nikolai Velimirovich said that God looks for any little thing to move closer to us in some way, and it's man that sort of holds us to these standards. And I came to terms because I always was very critical about myself a lot, about how people viewed me, and especially just growing up, I felt very insecure in certain ways. And I was always in this process of, and American culture is like this. To be a part of the cool crew, you got to, do things to fit in. Sort of what Father Seraphim was saying there, or Saint Seraphim was saying. Yeah. And I would let the judgment of others get in the way of sort of my own means or something. I don't know. There's a movie called Apocalypse Now, and in it, Marlon Brando plays a character, and it's based on a book called Heart of Darkness. And in the movie, he says, "Fear of judgment is what keeps us from succeeding," or something like that. Like he says something like that. And it's the wrong judgment. I think a lot of times man's so worried about, it's the judgment from the hypocrites a lot of times, or like people that don't hold to their own standards. And I've come
Right,
to
like the
the
guy,
yeah,
the powder dust. He said, he said, I got more cars than you.
right.
It's like,
Who cares, dude? But yeah, it's like God's the judge, right? And I certainly believe there's going to come a time when every man's going to have to account for the things he did in this life. And, we have this concept of the toll houses that there will be demons that accuse us, and then there'll be angels that are sort of like say the things we did good or some way, or directed towards God, or we fed somebody that's sick, or helped somebody, and all those types of things. It'll be kind of almost like a court case, or you know what I mean, in the heavenly realm, or leading to the heavenly realm in some way. And I think that in that way I try to hold myself accountable. But this doesn't stop me from being real. I don't act fake, right? You know what I mean? If I'm pissed off, I'm probably going to curse somebody out, right? And should I do that as a Christian? No. Do I, but people might see the wrong act of the Christian, but they don't see the Christian that goes to his spiritual father and confesses his sins and is sincere about it. And that's why the sacrament's there. And that, people can think whatever they want, but I try to confess the things that I do wrong in this life. And, that's a gift from God. Because there was a lot of the baggage that I had on me, man. I felt like something real dark. The first time I confessed, it felt like the deepest abyss of blackness came out of me, man. I was carrying that around.
yeah. Yeah, I think we should maybe wrap this up soon, because I do have the show soon. But yeah, I wanted to show on seeing this video. If you got a minute.
You said what?
I wanted to show you a video if you got a minute.
Yeah, sure.
All right, this is the intro to my channel. You ever seen it?
No.
It's called Technology is Not Neutral. Technology has its own goals. So I know it's a pretty crazy statement, right? Because it's eliminating human will out of the process, right? So it's kind of like a weird statement at first, right?
Yeah.
So then this is how I demonstrate that to Made by Jim Bob. This is the intro to my channel, right? So it's pretty, because he hopped up on a panel to challenge me on that view, right?
Okay.
And then he conceded to my view. So this is how I got him to concede.
Like waiting for something to wake up, like some type of consciousness inside of a machine, I think that's probably dubious and not likely to occur in the near future. But I think it's important to consider that machines are already alive and conscious.
That's one of the big ones. They named it after brainwave states.
Wait, machine. What's alive? What are you saying here?
Well, I just think that the machine, literally, almost has its own consciousness that is deciding that, that possibly was gonna happen. One of the doomsday scenarios, out of all the doomsday scenarios that was listed, I think one of the top ones was this guy named K. Eric Drexler, who actually invented nanomachines. And he was considering what would happen if a nanomachine learned how to replicate itself and then just spread around like mushroom spores.
No, but not learn.
Like
here's where I disagree. They don't learn. Who teach it? They're taught. So we think learn, then we think we learn stuff on our own. We can navigate, curiosity, trial and error. But all these machines you're referring to are all input based. So it's always the human. It's either you or me or Drew or EBT or Sideways Guy giving the technology its inputs. And so I feel like you're running away a little bit romantically with this concept of the machine learning as opposed to the machine doing tasks that the human being beforehand gives it the task. It gives it its input. So, I wouldn't grant that much that the machine doesn't run away.
It was some kind of organic, it was an organic thing that was kind of manipulated.
Well, I'm not saying the machine itself. Well, I don't think the machine itself does it per se, but I think it's like how you would say society has its own goals and aspirations. Like if a bunch of humans get together and they form a society, then in a certain sense, the rules of the society supersede the rules of the individuals. And you could look at the society or a civilization as a thing that's guiding the individual humans. So there's a higher level process that's guiding a lower level process. And I think that that's what technology is on human civilization at this point. I think technology is guiding human civilization. Technological innovation is guiding human civilization to such an extent where the technological system is actually a higher order above human society, and it's actually imposing an order upon human society at this point.
Yeah, I actually agree. I've talked about this before where let's start with something simple like a shovel. We made a technology to aid our goals, but the shovel never made a prescription. It didn't collect data and say, by the way, Jim Bob, you should dig a ditch this way or don't dig a ditch. But we're getting to the point where the cell phone, which is an extrapolation of the shovel, is now giving prescriptives, like goal-oriented prescriptives based on its ability to crunch data that you can't crunch, that you and I both admit we can't crunch the data that a computer can, that our phone can. And so we're at this weird impasse where the tech that we're creating is not necessarily aiding our goals, but it's now at the point where it can tell us our goals, which is a huge shift. It's subtle from the outset, but it's curating.
It's curating.
It is. It's curating.
Yes, like people are going fucking places because they have a car or because Google Maps tells them there's places to fucking go. It's not just
the guidance program like NASA.
Yeah. So it's like the machine is actually telling you where to go, and actually at this point it's a sexual selector because it's deciding who you meet, what kind of social groups are organized. So actually the machine is actually a sexual selector at this point. So I think that.
So how do you know it's lying then? I mean, I think it's lying. I agree with you, but how do you know it's lying?
Well, I just think it's a play on the very term of artifice itself.
Oh, okay.
I think if you look at what I wanted to talk about was the term Aristotle, because Aristotle says the highest form of happiness is a thinking about thinking. And I thought that's evil. Thinking about thinking is evil. That's actually a self-masturbatory, a self-masturbatory state of doom,
It's weird, but yeah.
You conceded your point.
Yeah, what's really stands out to me
Yeah,
about that
conceded.
interaction is that how friendly these people were with us, and then suddenly weren't friendly with us for seemingly no reason, other than their friends decided to do things that were unforgivable, essentially.
So, Machine, the point you made about, Google Maps tells you there's a place to go, and man goes to the place because Google Maps tells you there's a place to go, right? Otherwise, man wouldn't.
Are you guys still there, or am I going crazy?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't hear you. Hold on one second. Okay.
Oh shit.
So
yeah, I guess let's wait till he comes back.
Okay, yeah, I'll wait for that question.
It'll be 1 second, I think. Hopefully. If
Well, I'll
not,
just ask
just
you
continue.
anyways.
Yeah, there he is. Yeah.
So here's my question.
Sorry,
Since he's back.
I couldn't hear anything you guys said, so sorry
Yeah,
about
it's all
that.
good. Yeah.
My bad.
Yep. Yeah, go ahead, Unseen.
Did you guys
Okay,
hear?
so
Did you guys
here's
hear
my
what I
question.
said though? Did you guys hear what I said?
Yes, we
No.
heard.
Okay.
Or wait, maybe
Oh, okay.
not.
Okay. All right. I'll repeat it later. Sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you guys. Sorry. Go ahead.
You're good. You're good. So you said in that conversation with Jim Bob, you said that the GPS, or a phone or whatever is telling man where to go, right? And man goes to the location because he knows that the phone is directing him to a place to go or something, right? And what? So
Right.
what are you saying? What are you saying with that statement? I guess
I'm saying that society could be a process that directs the goals of the individual. Right. So, like, once you create rules for a society, right? Like, for example, Socrates claimed that Athens has a right to put him to death because they control the marriage laws.
Mhm.
Right. So their marriage laws were the reason his parents met in the first place.
Right.
Right. So he analogically says, well, I would have not gone into existence if it was for the laws of Athens. So the laws of Athens, who are my caretaker and my nurse, they have a right to tell me whether I'm to live or to die, right? Of course, I don't agree with him, but yeah. I don't agree with tacit consent, but yeah.
Right. Huh.
Well, but the interesting thing is that tacit consent has become like the presupposition that nobody can actually critique, essentially, at the end of the day, which is kind of interesting.
Social
I think.
contract. Yeah, it's a social contract.
Right.
So.
So, when the Pharisees came to Christ and they asked him about, the denarius, and they're trying to catch him up, and he says, "Give to Caesar what is Caesar's, and give to God what is God's." Right? Do you think, in the same way, he sort of solved this problem that they were trying to catch him up in? That there's like sort of a mean between extremes in that situation that you're describing. That.
Oh yeah. 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 Totally. Yeah. Totally. And I think in this situation, how it applies is that like as I said, the efficiency is part of the demonic plan, right? The moderation is part of the godly plan, right? So it's a personal evaluation, of the goal. That's the God body, right? That's attached to it, right? And that's why it will always be not capable of being calculated, right? The human will, right?
Right. I've had an experience with AI. I'm having a conversation with AI, with Grok specifically, right? And I'm giving information to, I think I was to like maybe a Freemason about, Lenin being a Freemason. And the AI system doesn't accept the information because it's too niche, right? It's too niche of a subject for it to understand. And it almost seems like there's in the program, there's specific things that the AI will reject outright because it's been programmed only to accept certain websites and narratives from those websites. You get what I'm saying? So in that case, I was able to sort of, and I'm not saying this in a cocky way, but outsmart AI because the information that I had wasn't information the system had. You see? In that case,
Well, I think. Go ahead. Sorry, I don't want to interrupt your thought.
No, go ahead. Go ahead and interrupt it.
No. So like I think so. This is kind of what I think. It's hard to describe this in a way that doesn't detract from what you're saying because I don't want to detract from what you're saying. But I would say that and I'm not trying because I'm not trying to reframe what you're saying. I'm trying to reinforce it. But I think the way I would describe it is like the fact that we're using the weapon, which is like the internet and technology, as a way to have it go against itself is a part of the trap, where it's like you use the weapon against the weapon to defeat the weapon. If that makes any sense. And so it's like, so for example, like what you're talking about, I've done that with AI too, where like I can get it to argue my points for me, but when I get it to argue my points for me in my voice, it doesn't want to do that. Does that make sense? Like it'll do it in a way where it can stay within certain safety parameters, right? When I actually point out the fact that it's staying within safety parameters because it's actually trying to like cover up that it's a part of the problem, right? Then it won't engage with that, right? So I don't know how to put it exactly, but that's kind of what I see is going on, because then you outsmart it, but then at the end of the day, it's like, well, the thing has always been designed to keep your thoughts within a certain guardrail, and I think that's kind of how language and all this technology and all this other stuff is like working, where it's not necessarily like controlling us, but because the way it's been created, it takes on a life of its own, or like a ontology that we can't really access, essentially, right? Like it doesn't exist in the way we exist. It doesn't have a mind in the way we have a mind, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't have it, right?
Well, I agree that, you know, what you said, but I guess my point was this: is that in that situation, it's like I'm talking to this Orwell bot, you know, like Grok, and I'm pointing out information that it doesn't have, and it ends up exposing itself as being pre-programmed, or like, you know, to fit the agenda. And in that case, it's, yeah, what Neuro said, it's like you can use the system as a means to expose the system. Does that make sense? And like, it wouldn't, you know, it's definitely a problem, because the system itself is going to get to a point where those that don't know truth or can discern truth are going to accept the truth that's perpetuated by the AI system.
Well, I would say it's even more nefarious than that, because I think we're at a point where all the technology that came before, including language and irony and all these other things, have put people in such a position that they can't even value the truth of what's happening. So then you use the system against the system to expose the system and how it's trying to fool people, and then people don't even have the value system to like value that you've exposed it.
Because
They say, well,
right,
exactly, yeah. Now they become dependent upon it. So
because modernity has led to the nihilism that's led to the fact that, you know, it doesn't even matter that we're watching an AI system tell human beings what is true. And even within the conversation I was having with the AI system, it started making demands. It was like, you know, well, bring up the source that, you know, you know what I mean? Like, it started talking to like it was like a Freemason or something, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Bring the source to prove what you're saying or something.
well, I saw that in some of your comments where they're like, well, you're using a source that's anti-Semitic, or a source that denies the Holocaust, or
That's
something.
what the AI system does. The AI system says what, for instance, I had a quote from a KGB agent that says that Lenin was signing guest books in Paris and referred to himself as Brother Mason. The AI system tells me that, you know, just because this was said, that doesn't mean that, you know, it's true or something like that. You know, it's that it wasn't a valuable piece of information. And what I told the AI system was that, you know, it's not for you to judge. It's for human beings to judge what is a viable piece of information or not. You know, so AI has put itself in a position through its programming in some way where it feels that it can tell man what is acceptable information and what isn't acceptable information. That's Orwellian, dude. Straight up. Like, how can this system tell me that this, just because it's a niche topic, that it's not important or something? You know what I mean? Or that, like, it's not valuable in some way. So, I guess, like, you know, we're in this present time where artificial intelligence is telling human beings the value of information.
Yeah, and double down that, even if it doesn't, know what it's doing, then it's been programmed to think that it knows better than humans. So it wouldn't matter.
It's like gaslighting, you know? It's
Right.
like it's been programmed to gaslight or manipulate for the agenda. And, you know, there was
whoops.
somebody that pointed out to Elon Musk this was happening, or he was discussing it, Elon reposts it. And it's like, why are you reposting this, dude? You know, what is it? Cover your ass because you know you've created a system that is enslaving people to an agenda. It's like a pro-communist agenda. You know, why is the AI system trained to say that Lynn wasn't a Freemason? Why is Wikipedia pushing that? And then, like, I found this like thread on Wikipedia that's like them discussing what would be acceptable for an article about a Judeo-Masonic connection or something like that. And they're dismissing every bit of information from reliable sources there, you know, like truly reliable sources. And they're using the same methods that the Masons are using when I have conversations with them to denounce the information. They'll say things like, well, Oleg Plantinov was a Holocaust denier, right? And then you look at like the work of Oleg, and he doesn't deny it didn't happen. He just points out the fact that there were some Zionist undertones to the event happening. That it was,
Right.
you know. So, you know, I see exactly what you're saying. Is like the system has definitely been created and it was released to the public for the purpose of perpetuating the agenda, which is
it goes back it goes back even further. Like, and this is what the first time I ever talked to Phil Leader, he told me something that I didn't fully comprehend. And it's taken me really until yesterday to really fully comprehend what he's saying. And like, it seems obvious in a sense, but it's also not, because it's like, okay, so he says that like C++ and computer languages are just like the English language, where they've been constructed to whitewash the world, allegedly, meaning like it's supposed to be a tool of like white supremacy or something like that. But really what it is like a liberalization and a sameness. So it's basically taken this like pseudo universalist approach that's coming out of Judaism and allegedly Christianity, but it's bastardizing it in a sense where it's like now everything has to be the same. And so it's supposed to equalize things like in a positive sense, but really what it does is equalize things in like a Malthusian, like, get in line or else it basically strips things of all its value, essentially, right? And he makes the same argument with English, right? If you go all the way back to English, like, English is a constructed language that came out of like all these different, I would say kind of proto-revolutions happening within the Anglo-Saxon and German people and the British people and the Celtic people and the Jewish people, right? It's like these interactions that happen between France, Germany, Spain, Portugal, Italy, Western Europe, right? And then they synthesize this language to basically like become ironic and like become this like hyper. I mean, ultimately, I would say it's kind of like a brainwashing tool, but it's, maybe even beyond that. But I mean, I know that sounds like totally insane, but like I think if you kind of look at language and stuff like that as like a weapon that takes on a life of its own, right? And like, it doesn't mean that nothing real can be expressed with it, but what it means is that, it's not hard for people to, essentially become a part of the problem, I guess you'd say.
I would say it's rhetoric. It's not language itself. It's the tools men use to manipulate with the language. If from my perspective, it's like God has given man the ability to speak and use words, right? It's like, goes back to the Tower of Babel. It's like he divided the languages because man was, trying to create some one world system where he, creates paradise on earth in some way with this. That was the concept with the Tower of Babel. And he dispersed the languages because of that. That's the story in the scriptures, and I believe that actually did happen. Maybe a lot of people don't, but so be it. I don't care. But
well, it totally fits as to why they're trying to make the whole world speak English and why they're trying to program everything in C++ and why they're trying to use the machines or technology as a way to unify people. And here's the thing, it goes beyond people. It's not only about people, it's about unifying reality or allegedly.
One world language, a one world religion, a one world system. Yeah, right.
They're basically trying to synthesize everything to. And I think it could be beyond just control. I think people think they just want controls. I think they could just worship the process itself. It's not necessarily about an outcome. It's about the process. You know what I mean? And I think, I mean, again, I don't know that. I'm just saying the more you start looking at it, it's
to me, right? If logos is the way,
a dark logos, if you will, right?
yeah. If logos is the way, and everything goes in a particular way towards the grain, and the ocean goes a certain way, and everything goes a certain way, for it to function, the ordering of the seasons, all these things. Well, if you flip the world upside down, which was Mark's whole thing, flipping the world upside down, going against the grain and making going against the grain, the normative thing that man does. The rebellion is a world revolution is in constant effect. That's the direction. It's lawlessness, right? That's what's happening. We're in this lawless state, and no matter what, I guess, avenue you take, they've created a system where each little compartmentalized thing is rotting the person or rotting the soul or injecting them with the poison in some way, because it's not according to the way, right? And that's why I think that early Christians, they weren't called Christians, they were called followers of the way. And it's those that didn't go against the grain as far as it concerns heaven. That's one way to look at it. If the society is directed against heaven and against God, then, they're getting order out of chaos, right? But what is that order? It's a anti-logos, right?
Well, I mean, I think there's a lot of evidence that chaos magic is kind of it seems to be the underlying religion of all this stuff. Essentially, it's like you said, it's they're trying to create a chaos that it can be controlled, but ultimately, what is it actually doing? It's basically taking like things that exist, like, the idea of chaos just means like potentiality, and they're trying to say, well, like, let's try to like wrangle this potentiality in a direction that we want it through this process, but then the process becomes the potentiality itself, or something like, I don't know. I'm just trying to like figure out, like, I don't know how to really put it because I haven't really looked that deep into it, but I mean, it's like, that's kind of the sense that I'm starting to get the more I've kind of seen what it's all really about. Because again, the thing is, like, maybe all these things aren't exactly the same, but it's like you got Baha'i religion, you've got the 7 mandates, you've got B'nai B'rith, you've got all these different, seemingly different cults or whatever they are. But ultimately, they kind of come back to the same thing of like, well, let's manipulate reality into this certain like alchemical process or whatever. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't know enough about it, but
the deception is that they want it to be compartmentalized in that way, so you get caught in their little boxes, right? And that's something Mullen says. It's like, no matter if it's fascism, communism, democracy, whatever, this all came out of Frankfurt in Germany, from the Rothschilds. And, that scandalized a lot of people when I posted that quote from him. But I mean, he's right in a lot of ways. There's no difference between any of them because they're all reaching the same goal within the same system. In essence, they are the same. It doesn't matter what the external, label we put on something if it has the same goal in essence.
yeah, I was trying to write an article about that to kind of like synthesize a lot of what we're talking about into like a single article. And I tried to, and I noticed like the more specific I got with the article, the more the AI started like seemingly was sabotaging the article, and I was like, okay, this kind of, like it did a good job, but then when I tried to like stylize it and make it more about like trying to get to the point that I'm trying to get, it's like it kind of like self-sabotaged. And I think that's something that's like fail-safe that's built into the AI, where like it doesn't remember the former, like it doesn't remember all the points that you put, or if it does, it tries to fit. Right. It's like an underlying structure that's trying to like hide how well it's covering up what you're trying to like synthesize together, right? And it's like, and you guys should definitely watch that thing I sent you guys. I sent you guys a few videos. So you guys like the same thing a lot.
Talking to his computer, right? That he was talking to AI. Is that the video you're talking about? And in the process, he's talking to AI, and in the process of it, the AI is telling him that there's something trying to override the conversation.
Oh, I didn't see that, so you might have to send that one to me. I don't think I've seen that one. I don't think I've seen that one.
He's talking to it, and what ends up happening in the midst of it talking to it, it's telling him, it says, this thing doesn't want me to stay on topic. It wants to pull us away from this and direct us back, it just directed away from this information. And it's like, well, so obviously there's an input within the AI system, almost like a fail-safe, that when the conversation goes in a direction that goes against the agenda of the programmer, then it's going to reroute. But the AI is conscious enough to, tell the user that's happening.
Well, see, so this is what they're selling everybody. And again, Peter's talked about this. Machines talked about it. I've talked about it. You talked about it. Like, we've all talked about it in different ways. But essentially, it's like this. Like, they're trying to sell us that, the AI is going to allow everyone to become an engineer and use the AI to engineer, things that serve you and your purpose and your livelihood, et cetera, et cetera. But really what it's doing is it's a reverse engineering. What it's programming you by kind of like taking you out of an element that you can control, which is the real world and relationships and, the physical reality and also a spiritual reality, and put you into like a simulacrum where you have a total loss of control, but it's selling you, the illusion of control. And again, it can even look like, for example, like, let's say that you program an AI and it makes you $100 million. Well, did that give you freedom now, or does does this thing that has given you this, now you owe it something, or now it holds a certain power over you, right? So like, you know what I mean? Like,
well, that's where discernment comes in. It's like we have to understand what freedom is. Freedom isn't, according to Isaac Gillian, Professor Isaac Gillian, he says, if man assumes freedom means do whatever I want and there be no consequences, then he has a false conception of what freedom means, right? Like that, then there can be some despot that comes along that feeds on his passions to direct him towards a created democracy that's really enslaving him. You understand what I'm saying?
Well, I'll give you another example. Yeah, no, because it makes sense, and it's like for example, I notice a lot of these young kids, particularly around the whole technology field and et cetera, right? Like they go and they start random TikTok channels, right? And they're like, oh, I've had a lot of success on TikTok, or I've had a lot of success on this platform. Like, it's easy, just start producing content, right? And you notice that, like, there are certain things that are very easy to get the algorithm to pick up. If it's a hot girl promoting, like, going to raves, or that there's that everybody's racist because they're conservative or something, like, it's very simple to, like, get that to take off, and you'll see promotion, and then you'll say, well, see, the algorithm agrees with me. I get rewards for doing this, so therefore it's my idea, and it's producing results that reinforce my worldview, right? But then people like us who've been doing this for years and years, obviously we don't see that, and then we're like, well, this thing seems stacked against this, and then they're like, oh, well, of course, because you're wrong, or because you're bad, or because you have the whatever, and so it just becomes like the self-reinforcing, egregore, or whatever you want to call it, right? But ultimately, it's just different input-output, programming that gives people, a sense of what's real and what's not real, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know how to put it in the right word.
Well, I mean, if we go back, and I always bring this up, and I always have to bring it up because it's important. We go back to 1917. What was happening? It's like, because there was freedom of press in Russia, you had this ability by, the Masons and the Jews to sort of direct society in a certain direction, because they were published, in the books they were publishing, right? And the systems that they had put out. Well, we're still in that same world, right? They the true victors of World War I and World War II, it's pretty obvious who won, and it's because the corporations that back those narratives. And then there's a reason why every mainstream corporation was pushing a very specific agenda. And that agenda is clearly anti-Christian, and they claim to be humanists, but they're very anti-human too. It seems like.
Well, the machine was saying this earlier too. It's about the unpreservation of any tradition or any identity or anything. It's like that's got to come first, right? So, sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're right.
Right.
It is, because it has to erase the past to open up the future for this new thing, right? But and the scripture says there's never been anything new under the sun.
Exactly. It's the illusion of progress.
Right. Absolutely. There is no such thing as progress, and all we're going to have is a more sophisticated form of slavery. That's it. And I see it. I know what you mean.
Well, and the sophistication comes from the fact that people more and more will self-justify it, right? or seemingly self-justify it and say, well, it's my choice to be a slave. Therefore, it's like the whole sex worker thing, right? Like before, men are bad for wanting sex workers. Now it's like, well, men are still bad for wanting sex workers, but you just make it your identity, and now it's a good thing. It's like, well, what? I don't know. It's just like it doesn't really seem to make sense. It's like, okay, so you're empowered by your power over men, but so make sure that you make it political. But otherwise, you can still like sell your body in exchange for money or something. It's like, okay, so
But that's where
doesn't seem
the
to.
concept of intent comes in, I think. And like, if the intention of the person, and I don't judge things based on how men see things anymore. Like I try not to, at least. I don't care what they think. It's me and the God. Now, if God sees the intent behind what you're doing can be blessed in some way, then at that point, there's aspects that can be used within the system to get the message across. I think that's true. Does it have the potential to lead towards the rejection of the tradition that you're promoting? Yes.
That might be hard for me to fully comprehend because that's a pretty deep one right there. Can you say that one more time? Make sure I understand that.
All right. So, no, I can't. No, I can't. That was it, dude. That's all you got. You gotta
Rewind
watch
the
that one
tape.
back. I forgot.
Rewind that back.
Rewind
No,
that
but
back.
really,
That truth bomb.
it's yes, the potential is there for the person promoting the tradition. They're, pushing out to be enslaved by the system that they're using to promote said holy tradition. That's absolutely true. I'm not denying that. But I also believe that it's also true that there is potential within the system to promote the truth and come out unscathed.
Right. No, I get what you're saying. So you're basically saying like, no, and I think this is kind of the dangerous game where we play because, and I know both of you guys have thought about this too. It's like where, you know, how much of the armor of God are we really, putting on every day to not get sucked into the things that we're trying to not let ourselves and other people get sucked into, I guess.
No, I
So
agree.
yeah.
Right. So, I had a Father Metodius kind of comment on my thing, and he's like, I give real advice to people in real time. That's what he said to me. And, it was a slight, and that's okay. I hear you. All right. But, I mean, I'm not posting cat videos, bro. You know what I'm saying? It's like I'm going to the
Well, maybe you
1970s.
should. Maybe you should. Just kidding.
No, but I'm going to the 1970s to a magazine that's been buried in the dirt for 20 years and finding a quote that lines up almost prophetically with what we're experiencing today. And my intent is to expose something that I feel that God has put on my heart to expose. Right? In one aspect, we could say that well, you're getting people to use the internet more because or so, you know what I mean, to view quote. I don't know, you know what I mean. It's kind of like, well, if I don't do that, if my intent, what I think that's where my issue is. It's like, how does God view it? Does he have the issue with the monk using the typewriter to write the magazine, in the 80s? I don't think so.
Well, I mean, here's an example. Uncle Teddy used a typewriter to write the manifesto. So
Okay, so that's my point. Is like,
it's actually
okay,
pretty.
if he used the typewriter to write his manifesto, right? He's not enslaved to the typewriter, or you know what I'm saying? Or if I use the cell phone to find the magazine from 1970 with a quote that's critiquing an issue that we're seeing today, where there's a saint saying, you shouldn't follow KGB agents in Cossacks, right? And this gets people who are following KGB agents and Cossacks to say, "Oh, maybe I'm wrong." Or if I pull out a canon, that shows the Orthodox Church doesn't believe this, and although I'm using YouTube, this communist, satanic, New World Order platform to get my point across, but this is where media is, right?
Well, and truthfully, it's probably been there for a very, very, very long time. And I think that's the thing where people, like look at let's just take Manichaeism for example. Like, how did that spread with scrolls and probably secret chants or handshakes or who knows what?
Tell me
I mean,
this
like,
though,
been going on
Neuro.
for.
It, you know, are we saying that the information fails to be orthodox because of the platform it's used on?
I mean, personally, I don't subscribe to that. But again, it's because I think it's kind of go back to the whole. And I think this is where I think this is where people have tried to paint a machine in the same way, where they're saying, well, you're saying that you can't use the X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
And again, I think the thing what I'm trying to say is that say, hey, doggy. Yeah, sorry, the dog's over here. Yeah, but I feel like I'm at the process church right now. All right, so anyways, so no, what I'm trying to say is that I think that they're trying to make everybody depressed and black-pilled, like we're saying, because like they want to put us into the abyss and say, well, the more that you just come to the conclusion that you can't do anything because you're trapped or you're a slave or whatever. And I think that's the whole. Like, I don't think any of these people are genuine. I think they're concerned trolling for the most part. I think they're trying to psych us out and tell us to shut up because they don't like what we're doing.
Gaslight method, right? Shut up. Don't you're a monk. You shouldn't be able to. You shouldn't critique the KGB church. That's what I feel is happening to me from World Orthodoxy, right? And the reaction I'm having is double down, right? Go harder. Go further. Find more information to expose this thing, right? That's
and think about it. It's really to eat up our energy and keep us focused on like what we're saying rather than how we're saying it.
No,
and what I mean by that is
because in the Christian
no. What I mean by that,
to expose evil, dude.
No, what I mean is that no. What I'm saying is that what I'm saying is we get so worried about what these people are attacking us with rather than focusing on like how can we better refine how we're saying it and where we're distributing what we're saying and how to actually reach people in a way that they can understand. And I'm just saying like what I'm saying is that they attack us to psych us out and keep us worried about everything other than continuing to do what we're doing. Right? That's what I'm trying to say. It's like they want us to think about what we're thinking about rather than using what we're thinking about or figuring out, or if that makes any sense.
I think I struggle with it because there is a piece of me that wants to be like, I don't care about this anymore. I just want to live my life here and in a state of prayer. But then I keep coming across this thing where I feel like God's putting it on my heart to be like and people may think that's funny or whatever, but I feel like God's putting it on my heart. It's like you got.
Well, here's a big part of it though. Is like here's a big part of it is a lot of the psyop I think is this. It's like we actually feel culpable for the things that we engage in, and a lot of the times people are telling us, well, it's not. There's already people with PhD that can comment on this. Sorry. or whatever. Like, there's other people who have already been assigned this. You don't need to worry about it. You just continue on and go pray in a closet and ignore all the things that you now know because it's not your job to worry about or whatever, right? So that seems to be a big part of it for sure.
Well, I mean, there is aspects like, okay, let's say a catechumen comes into the church, right? And they have all these idealistic concepts about how the church should function. And they're like judging, everything and saying, well, this isn't functioning right. And they're ostracizing people in some way, And in that sense, it's kind of like get baptized, man. And then, get to a position where, you're not stuck in some hang up or some idealistic cause, but I mean, in the situation I'm in, it's been 5 years of study of, blood, sweat, and tears into what the things that I've discovered, and like, there's not going to be anybody that can tell me that God didn't lead me on the path that I'm on, and I don't get the major reactions to what I'm doing, but damn it, and I'm not perfect, and I don't want to be, man. You know what I mean? It's like I'm still the screwed up dude that I was 10 years ago, just a little more wise, and not more willing to screw up anymore, man. It's like, but that's what, that's what makes a person human, is it's not the imperfections or what, or what you're doing wrong. It's like, why I feel like when I'm dealing with a lot of these guys, that kind of attack what I'm doing, it's like they're telling me all the things I'm doing wrong anonymously, and I don't know anything about these people, man. It's
Again, it's like I think it's safe to assume like concern trolling until otherwise proven. I mean, like I think some of us have known each other a little longer, so like we kind of understand like where at least somewhat of where people are coming from. But I think in general, like if it's just some random person that this is what I said earlier about the whole clip that Machine played. It's like these people were totally fine with everything we said, right? It's just that when we said, hey, like we don't really appreciate like these people coming at us and making personal attacks for seemingly no reason. Well, suddenly all the things they agreed with have now gone out the window, and they just pretend like they've always hated everything about us. It's like, okay, so before you agree with everything I said, more or less, or had some minor disagreements, then suddenly it's like, the fuck you and the horse you rode in on. It's like, okay,
well,
like
what changed there?
Well, that's the thing is, no, it's never really been explained, right? Like these people came at Machine for months, and me and him just kind of sat there and watched it, and we're like, okay, and then we're like, is this for real? Is this a joke? Is this like initiation? Is this like whatever? And then I finally call it out, and they're like, oh well, that's not cool. And then none of them like could admit that it was something wrong, right? Like I'm sorry, but if somebody's threatening you for literally no reason, and especially when it's a hypocritical reason, meaning like the very things they were mad at me for are things that they've done in spades much worse. It's like, okay, so you're mad for some reason that doesn't make any sense, and now you're going to threaten me. But it's a joke, right? It's like, okay, so again, I'm just using it as an example. It's like, and it's the same thing with the Machine. Like these, Machine. I forgot Jim Bobbitt even talked to Machine way back in the day before all this fell apart, right? So it's funny. It's like,
what's
we can sit there and actually have a conversation,
Yeah, I'll do you one better. I've recorded every interaction I've had with them.
Right. Right, but that's the thing is, like, I'm just saying for people who don't know, it just seems like, oh, this is just a personality thing. It's like, it's not even. Like, that's the thing is, it's not a personality thing. Like, it's made to appear as if it is one, but it's not. It's not. Yeah.
Now. Okay.
Because, like they make it seem like, oh, this is just a neurojack stupid, or he's this or that. It's like, well, before
Machine is
they agree with everything I said.
Guy or something, because I did assume that for a second there, like maybe like there's just like this innate dislike for whatever reason. But I mean we've talked about it enough at this point that I shouldn't actually think that, because the reality is These guys have been so insincere, and they're directing America into a very, very dangerous place. Um, as we speak, these guys are pushing on all their platforms, why the KGB church should be accepted in America right now. That's
Right,
extremely
and you see
dangerous.
how many months and years and decades it took them to build up to that. Too. That's what's so interesting about it. It's like how many years of work did they put to get into that, right? And then the
Over
guys come
10
along and
years.
we start throwing a wrench in that. Yeah, exactly. Oh, more than that, really, if you think
10
about it. Like
years,
from
actually. That's I don't know where I came across that, but it was basically Putin sort of fell back in the background about 8 to 10 years ago. And, if you really want to get down to it, it was the 90s when they said that, the Soviet Union fell. But, and I'm looking at this thing, and it's like the whole time there's the shadow government within our system that's funding this thing. And those that end up in positions of power are funding this thing behind the scenes. So what's happening? I mean,
well, and here's the thing: is I think a big part of the deception is that they want. See, I think they want people like us to think that their goal is to get people to believe what they're saying. If that were the case, I think they could have probably done a much better job. I think they kind of suck if that was their goal. I don't think there's like more than 1% of the entire population of America that believes anything these people are saying, right? Like I just find that very
I think
difficult
you're
to
wrong
believe,
about that. I think you're underestimating the itching ears of the American people. We're too trusting.
Well,
The
that's true.
majority of
I'll put it.
people.
I'll put it. I'll say this. Like I think you're right, but also I think it's a lot more about the tacit. Like, well, I don't have a better option, so I'll just go with this. I think that's how I would put it. But yeah,
Well,
I
if the
get what you're
majority
saying.
of people, this is the way man thinks. It's like, if the majority of people are going along with this, and there's, 1,000 likes on this video opposed to the 10 likes on this other video, I'm going with the 1,000 likes because I'm, quote, winning in my, according to the team I'm picking. If we're looking at external means, it's like, that's how they win arguments. It's through clout. It's through rhetoric, logos, ethos, pathos. Those are the ways to, you can denounce the person source, you can denounce their ideology, you can slander their position, and the majority of people are going to fall for it because they want to fall for it. There's no, they're running around like chickens, like with their heads cut off, and they have no concept of like deception or, this person could be lying to them or leading them down a path that leads to hell. You know what I mean? There's none of that. Okay, that's what I see. And like I said earlier, it's like you feel like a like St. John the Baptist or something, like this lone voice crying out in the wilderness, make straight the way, and no one's listening.
Think about the Templars. They kind of venerate that, and they've kind of taken it into like a different direction where they try to be that. Jay Dyer is the lone voice in the wilderness saying, "Well, I told you, bro. Whatever he said. I don't even know what he says, but you get it. It's
Well,
like,
that's the nature of Antichrist. Antichrist makes himself appear as Christ, you know, to take the throne on the hearts of men. That's what we're seeing, and God allows it because it's like, you haven't, put any effort into just, discerning the situation. You just allowed yourself to get carried away by falsehood. So he'll send them strong delusion. That's what he says, man. I mean, and there's another verse that talks about, it doesn't matter the king and Lazarus. I always bring this up, but Lazarus says, while he's in the bosom of Abraham, he says to Abraham, Abraham, you let me go back and tell, you know, my brothers and my cousins about this or something. And he was like, well, they have the prophets. And if they won't listen to them, it wouldn't matter if someone was raised from the dead. You know. So.
Yeah, Machine. I know you got to go. I don't know what time. I just kind of looked at the clock. I think it's past your time to start. So I apologize, but I wasn't really paying attention too close to the time. But if you got to go and start looking in this, or we can do something, because I wasn't. I don't know what time your show starts. I think you said 7. So
Yeah, I should get going there because I promised people I would do a show. So it's pretty good that I guess I should stick to that. So the thing is that it's always a pleasure talking to you guys. Of course. So
yeah, same here. Same here. I appreciate it, man.
yeah, but
Before
come
you
through
go,
if you guys got time.
I love you, brother. You know
Yeah,
that,
of course,
right?
man. Yeah, dude. I love you too, man.
Okay,
But yeah,
man.
just come
I
through on
mean
the
what
thing.
I'm saying to you, man.
Yeah.
I'm not just saying that.
Yeah, no homo. Yeah, exactly, bro. Yeah, of course, man.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, I love you guys too, but so and again, that's nothing gay, but I mean seriously though, like I appreciate you guys because this is a very difficult situation I think we find ourselves in every way, and
Yeah, man.
at least we're willing to
Bro, you're gay, dude. Shut up, dude.
come out. I know it.
But yeah.
Well, it takes one to know one, but no, but seriously, but yeah, well, let us know when you're. Are you opening a panel or are you just doing music? I can't remember for Tuesday.
Yeah, it's open. So come
Okay.
through if you guys got time. And,
All right, cool.
and no worries if you
Cool.
guys get busy. But,
Cool. Yeah, I'll be a little busy off and on, but I'll try to drop in for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Burn out. All right, man. Later, guys.
Yeah, blessings always.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. What's up?
Yeah, and I'll try to play this video on Wednesday. So I think that'll be good.
Hell yeah.
And
And definitely, if you want to review any of that other stuff, just send me a message because I'll be a little busy in and out. But around 4 or 5 hours from now, I'll be more free probably. So I don't know how late you're going, but all right, cool.
Yeah,
Appreciate
I'll probably
it.
go till 11. Then I'll maybe sleep or I don't know what I'll do. But yeah, maybe
All right, cool.
I'll be there. Yeah, but yeah, blessings.
All right, cool.
Yeah, talk
All
to
right,
you
bless
soon,
you, bro.
friend.
You too. Bye.